His last words, an apology to the officer's family, saying there's no way he can ever repay that. On Wall Street, stock futures have been rising after yesterday's sell-off. I'm Dave Anthony, and this is Fox News.
Crime is already skyrocketing in 2026. Now, you may already own a firearm, but before you face the financial, the legal, the emotional weight of pulling that trigger, there is new technology, a smarter option. It's non-lethal. BYRNA.com. Berta makes less lethal launchers. It fires tear gas, pepper spray, kinetic rounds. It is designed to stop an attacker for up to 40 minutes. That gives you time to escape. That gives you time to get help without deadly consequences. Now, remember, it fires at 400 feet per second, and it has serious stopping power, enough to shut down a threat very fast without the legal, moral complexity of using lethal force. And every single launcher hand-assembled in beautiful Fort Wayne, Indiana. Legal in all 50 states, no background check, and they'll ship it straight to your door. Just go to BYRNA.com today and find the right launcher for you and your family. That's BYRNA.com.
What did it cost to put a Bible into your hands in English? Calvary Baptist Church, Tinley Park presents a powerful look back at the valiant men who gave us the Holy Bible. Make plans now to view the Bible Collection, a showcase of antique Bibles and historic works tracing the journey from the original Greek text compiled by Erasmus, Stephanus, and Beza to the English translation work of William Tyndale, leading up to the King James Version, March 15th through the 18th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. For details, visit CalvaryBaptistTinley.com.
If you're near retirement or thinking about retiring, you probably have a lot of questions. How do you make your savings last? How much should you take out and when? You're ready for retirement, but are your finances? I'm Edward Jones financial advisor, Nolan Webster. Let's work together to make sure your finances meet your unique needs over the long haul. You've done what it takes to get there. Now it's time to make the most of retirement. Call me at 224-801-6107 to schedule an appointment. That's 224-801-6107. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code QUICK to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code QUICK for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code QUICK for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news on the Alex Marlow Podcast.
For so many years, we thought we would see terror. Is it a Muslim? Now we're starting to think, is it a trans person? And we've indulged all of this. It's completely our fault, self-inflicted wound. We've run so hard away from the science and towards insanity. They'll never stop. They will never be done. They will always try to take more. They will always try to create more chaos.
Subscribe to the Alex Marlow Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. Alex Marlow explains the good news.
We've got numbers that are just beyond belief here. The best core CPI since March 2021, which means we've erased the inflation from the Biden inflation, which is so great. Prices are down for used cars, gasoline, medicine, and electricity. And the market thinks this isn't just one good report, but a sign that inflation is low enough that the Fed can start cutting rates again, which is huge.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's March 4th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. It's National Hug a GI Day. Those who serve and have served this nation in the armed forces deserve our support. The term GI used to refer to Army personnel, but over time it now encompasses all members of the military. So take a moment out of your day to give a pat on the back or shake the hand of someone who has served. Let them know their sacrifice does not go unnoticed. Also on this date, in 1789, the first U.S. Congress meets under the new Constitution in New York City's Federal Hall. And in 1989, the Louvre Pyramids by artist I.M. Pei are inaugurated by French President Francois Mitterrand. The structures can be found in the courtyard of the museum. If it's your birthday today, you share it with Baroque composer Antonio Vivaldi, born in 1678, and actress Catherine O'Hara, born in 1954. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Zeke, self-employed, called to refinance his $1 million home after being rejected by 3 lenders. Zeke contacted me after hearing me explain how I helped another self-employed listener who was also rejected due to lack of income. I helped Zeke secure an $800,000 cash-out refinance using the 12-month average of Zeke's business bank statements. Let's review. Zeke called to refinance his home after being rejected by 3 lenders, and we help Zeke refinance using the deposits into his business bank statements. If you're self-employed and want to work with mortgage professionals who understand self-employed borrowers, call Team Hochberg at 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of self-employed listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 and that website you love, 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 643114.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate, it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 5-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
This is Hugh Hewitt for Townhall.com. As we watch the ongoing campaign against the Islamic Republic of Iran, President Trump now faces a decision on when to end the battle. A premature end will almost certainly lead to another war. This regime refused to stop its nuclear program, its missiles program, its export of terrorism after President Trump ordered Qasem Soleimani killed in January 2020, and again after Operation Midnight Hammer in June of last year when it obliterated the nuclear weapons program of the Islamic Republic. Instead, the fanatics atop this barbarous regime began to rebuild their killing capabilities and displayed their true nature with a stunning massacre of more than 35,000 of their own citizens in January. The Islamic Republic regime is incapable of changing. The regime must be changed. Persevere, President Trump. Americans have been dying at the hands of this wicked regime since it came to power in 1979. More have died this week. Do not let this regime survive to kill again.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus with a message of perseverance, faith, and a shared global destiny.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before, since the book of Acts.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? What does the Bible say?
We have to become fighters in the Spirit for God. We don't accept what the enemy wants to do with our culture. We don't accept what he wants to do with the nation. If we keep fighting, we win.
Powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller, The Dragon's Prophecy, combines history and scripture with faith, justice, and renewal. The Dragon's Prophecy, a new film by Dinesh D'Souza, now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Sean Thompson. One of the things I remember about spring is listening to my grandfather walk around and say, opening day, it's just around the corner. He used to think those were the two sweetest words you could say during springtime because he was a big baseball fan. And for most people, that's the case. It's one of the greatest American traditions each spring. But there's another great American tradition that isn't far off, and that's called Tax Day. Well, opening day and Tax Day show up around the same time each year. We don't look at them in the same way. Well, you're optimistic about your favorite team. When's the last time you felt optimistic about stroking a big check to Uncle Sam? It doesn't have to be that way, and all you have to do is call Tom Fortino, the people at Alpha Wealth Group, who believe that baseball is a seasonal game, but tax planning goes on year-round. So if you don't want to write a big check in your retirement, and you don't want to have your Social Security or Medicare premiums affected by it, call Tom Fortino and the people at Alpha Wealth Group for their complimentary retirement roadmap. Call them at 630-864-6711. That number again is 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. If you're a business owner with unfiled tax returns, tax season is not your friend. This is when the IRS turns up the heat. They match 1099s. They review payroll filings. They compare bank deposits. And when returns are missing, they don't send you a warning. They take action. Penalties stack up fast. Liens become public. Bank levies can drain your account. I see it every year. Good business owners who waited too long, not because they're crooks, but because they were overwhelmed. Let me be clear, hiding makes it worse. Action makes it fixable. I help business owners get compliant, file what's missing, and negotiate from a position of strength, not fear. Don't wait for the next certified letter. Don't wait for a levy. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll tell you exactly what to do next, step by step. Or call me right now at 312-664-6649. Act now before the IRS acts first.
If moving safely around your home is a concern, you deserve clear answers, not a sales pitch. Access will help you improve home accessibility with practical solutions like lifts, grab bars, and home modifications, designed to fit your home, your needs, and budget. Experienced professionals will take the time to explain your options so you can make an informed decision. If staying safe and comfortable in your home matters to you, start with a free in-home consultation. Call Access at 630-616-6249 or visit allaboutaccess.com.
I'm Ben Barzita.
And I'm Matt Nadeau, founding partners of Barzita and Nadeau Wealth Management. And after more than a decade on the air, we're excited to be back with our brand new show, Money Hour Radio.
Tune in every Saturday at 1 p.m. on AM 560 as we break down retirement planning, market trends, tax reduction strategies, and our Advance and Protect investment approach.
It's sophisticated planning, independent analysis, and trusted guidance backed by over 40 years of combined experience.
Join us for Money Hour Radio, Saturdays at 1 p.m. on AM 560.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
Hey AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story, and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At JeffBuysYourHouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly cloudy with a high of 48. Tonight, expect periods of rain with a low of 40. Tomorrow will be cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm into the early afternoon, reaching a high of 45. On Friday, it will remain cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, with the temperature climbing to 68, approaching the record of 70 last reached in 2000. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson. Heard weekday mornings at 11 on AM 560, The Answer. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, as President Trump mentioned during his State of the Union speech, VP Vance is his point person to head up a anti-fraud task force, along with Dr. Oz, to circumnavigate the country, particularly its big cities, and identify massive instances of significant to massive benefits fraud. And this is an issue that could be surprisingly important for the midterms, depending on just how much progress is made. And actually, there's a good piece in the Journal about the lessons that J.D. Vance should learn from previous VP task forces in terms of how to approach this. Well, there's some good news. Of course, ground zero for this at present is Minneapolis because of the Quality Learning Center and all of the independent journalists and everything they discovered, in addition to what Dr. Oz himself discovered when he went up there and went to that one building just outside of Minneapolis where there were just floors and floors of one office, home health care delivery services, and the like. And for the most part, nobody was home. Nick Shirley is still up there. He's bouncing around, but he's still up there doing his independent journalism. You know, all it takes is a knock on a door and a conversation with somebody, and much can be revealed, as we got with the Quality Learning Center, as we got with the Minneapolis Autism Center. And this is particularly important because the benefits fraud here to steal resources that are otherwise dedicated for people with autism is really next level despicable, isn't it? It's the kind of thing that I think transcends party lines. Nick Shirley looking for a place to send his fictional son Joey. Maybe the Minneapolis Autism Center would be a good place for little Joey, he inquired.
Going to a lot of these daycare centers, we're trying to find a spot for our little boy Joey, but we thought maybe we could check him in the autism center, because none of the daycare centers are open. Yeah, and how many kids do you guys have at this autism center?
I can't give you a number now.
Yeah, it's a real
More
brain
than
teaser.
5?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, so you don't really know?
Yeah.
And what do you guys think about like the fraud that's been labeled on the autism centers here? What do you guys do think about the fraud, or how come the autism centers are popping up?
I can't answer.
Are you a news reporter? My name's Nick. We're doing a little documentary trying to find little Joey a spot to put himself in one of these centers here, because there's...
Who are you asking us about?
The fraud? Yeah, because we want to make sure we're going to legit business if we're going to bring our little boy Joey here.
This is not a Joey spot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's our number on your bill. But this is we can't let you guys do so.
Okay. Thank you. So once again, little Joey, he can't even go to daycare, and now they won't even accept him if he has autism.
And again, no kids. Couldn't tell you how many kids they serve.
After being able to provide no evidence of them actually.
Yeah, and of course, this is not a place for Joey, the guy said. Why is that? Please elaborate. A related story, there has been some progress with the fraud. The Star Autism Center in St. Cloud, the founder of that fraudulent business, has been picked up.
This was a $6 million scheme run by a man who was just 22 years old when he opened this supposed autism clinic, Star Autism Center in St. Cloud. Abdi Najib Yusuf admitted that his he called them investors, brought in unqualified staff, family members as young as 18 to do medical services. And then they recruited children from Somali families to receive services in return for kickbacks, which were also paid with taxpayer money. Many of the kids didn't even have autism, but Yusuf admits they fraudulently got those diagnoses. After 4 years, Star Autism Center had racked up $6 million in reimbursements. Yusuf sent $200,000 to Kenya and spent $100,000 on a Freightliner semi. He did not say how much of the $6 million he kept for himself.
Yeah, boy, it took a lot of sleuthing to be able to discover this level of this fraud. So it's per the level of sophistication. No, not really. That's sarcasm. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or a text. Scratching the surface here, there's a lot of movement to be had, and not just in Minneapolis, of course, but every urban center, particularly urban centers in big states. And that would necessarily include Illinois. I repeat something we've talked about a few times here. The curious situation in Illinois where the spend on human services has gone up 8x the budget increase, which has doubled during Pritzker's 7 years in office. So how's that? Is it a illicit expansion of access to benefits, qualifying people for whom these human services programs weren't intended to qualify? Has there been an influx? Even as we're losing population, what's going on there? Oz and Vance in their presser the other week talked about California, talked about New York. They didn't talk about Illinois, but I assume they will. The piece I was referencing to in terms of some suggestions for Vance with this task force, if it's going to be something more than previous vice presidential task forces, think Al Gore's Reinventing Government task force in the Clinton years. Lessons learned, a good piece by Tevi Troy over at the Wall Street Journal. Some suggestions. Hurry. Launched at the very beginning of the Clinton administration, the Reinventing Government task force had 8 years to do its job. The anti-fraud effort has 3, so Vance must work fast. Lean in. Comparing this to Kamala Harris being tasked to find the root causes of illegal immigration. How'd that go? Ms. Harris tried to back away from her assignment as border czar. This didn't spare her from being tagged with border failures. Like it or not, Vance now owns the issue of fighting fraud. The media and his political opponents will pounce if the efforts fail. Convene. The president is one of the few people who can bring together top appointees across government. To address fraud, Vance will need officials at the Treasury, Homeland Security, and Justice, and a host of other agencies to cooperate along with state and local officials. Communicate. Gore doggedly sold his Reinventing Government effort, even going on Letterman. Vance proved willing to go on any show, anytime, to make the case for his boss in the 24 campaign. He should do the same thing with fraud. Self-monitor, and here's a comparison to another one. Vice President Quayle's Council on Competitiveness, that was aimed at reducing regulation. And then what did Bush do? Signed the ADA, signed the Clean Air Act. As a result, the regulatory burden became heavier. Vance should take care that other administration efforts don't make fraud more likely. And then lastly, seek permanence, much like Doge should seek permanence. or they should seek permanence for DOJ. Most of the initiatives spearheaded by VPs eliminated by the next administration. Clinton terminated the Council on Competitiveness. W terminated the Reinventing Government. Vance should develop initiatives, private sector-based or legislatively codified, that can outlive the task force itself. Those are some good suggestions from Tevi Troy in terms of Vance, starting with chop chop. Get Oz and get around the country and start digging in and work with Trump-appointed U.S. attorneys as needed when you're not going to get cooperation from local officials, as is certainly the case in Minnesota. Interestingly, the House Oversight Committee has concluded just yesterday, they released the finding that, here's a shocker, that Tim Walz and his administration knew about the fraud and essentially turned a blind eye to it. Okay, well, if the evidence warrants, then let's see some indictments in addition to indictments of the actual fraudsters themselves, indictments of the political leaders, if they were essentially an accomplice in the commission of these frauds against, in this case, Minnesota taxpayers. This seems to me like a much more opportune area for actually holding politicians accountable than some of the other areas associated with lawfare and the like that we've discussed. Jim in LaGrange, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Dan, hi. I couldn't agree with you more. You know, not all crooks are smart, but the smart ones, how do they pivot out of this? I mean, personally, if I'm a crook and I've got this scam going, I'm never answering a door. I'm taking off and running. You know, like how dumb can these people be? And they know that people are onto them. You know what I mean? So anyway, but how do they pivot? How do they get away?
Thanks for the call, Jim. Yeah. Drop ship that cash that you got to Nairobi or Jubaland in Somalia, where you want to run as the local warlord, as another fraudster did, and you better catch the next flight out. I mean, these schemes they're so straightforward, they're so obvious, and there's so many. Well, how do you encompass them all? One at a time. Just keep going. George in Naperville.
Yes, good morning, Dan. Hopefully Vance could do better than Biden did when Obama put him in charge of curing cancer.
Yes, exactly. Not technically a task force, but yeah, that's a good one in terms of a punchline. Dan Propp, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief. And it didn't happen in an operating room. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon, Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea's back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. So don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation free. Call now, 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 5:38, we get an update on operations in Iran from CENTCOM Commander Brad Cooper. Pretty useful to get a sense of what's happening on the ground there from the military execution perspective. We'll start there and then fold in the politics, of course. 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 33 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A federal grand jury in Chicago has indicted an alleged Sinaloa cartel boss on drug, firearms, and material support of terrorism charges. Prosecutors say 49-year-old Jesus Omar Ibarra Felix led a group that engaged in armed conflict and provided security in support of El Chapo Joaquin Guzman Loera's four sons. The indictment alleges that from 2016 to 2026, Ibarra Felix supplied machine guns to the four and conspired with them and others to import methamphetamine and fentanyl into the United States from Mexico. A warrant has been issued for Ibarra Felix's arrest. A van that was stolen with 8 dogs inside on Chicago's north side has been recovered. The vehicle theft happened yesterday morning in the 2200 block of North Clybourne. The van was found a short time later in the alley near the corner of Oakdale and Lakewood. All of the dogs are safe and have been reunited with their owners. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Having trouble sleeping? Visit Mattress Firm during the Upgrade Your Sleep sale. Their sleep experts will help you find your perfect bed from a premium selection of top brands. They make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
Larry Elder sees a glaring difference.
The numbers of deportations under Obama, they were greater than under Trump. The alleged abuses by ICE also took place under Obama, except only more so. So everything you say about what ICE is doing, people like the ACLU and other human rights organizations complained was taking place under Obama. The difference is the media did not care.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly cloudy with a high of 48. Tonight, expect periods of rain with a low of 40. Tomorrow will be cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm into the early afternoon, reaching a high of 45. On Friday, it will remain cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm as the temperature climbs to 68, approaching the record of 70 last reached in 2000. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, Brad Cooper is the CENTCOM commander, and amid all the partisan politicking, mainly by the Dems, and some of the sniping within MAGA world over Trump's intervention here. It's nice to get an update on the actual military operations, and I understand there's going to be a disposition to accentuate the positive, but he has the receipts, there's no question. It's worth hearing.
Our military in the Middle East is undertaking an unprecedented operation to eliminate Iran's ability to threaten Americans, as they've been doing for nearly half a century. Having spent more than 36 years in the military, I could not be prouder of America's sons and daughters in uniform who are answering the call. More than 50,000 troops, 200 fighters, 2 aircraft carriers, and bombers from the United States are participating in this operation, and more capability is on the way. These forces bring a massive amount of firepower, representing the largest buildup by the U.S. in the Middle East in a generation. In the opening hours of Operation Epic Fury, U.S. Central Command forces, together with Israel, delivered overwhelming and unprecedented strikes into Iran. Many of you may remember the shock and awe strikes of 2003. The first 24 hours of this operation were nearly double the scale, and we continue with 24/7 strikes into Iran from seabed to space and cyberspace. Now, we're less than 100 hours into this operation, and we've already struck nearly 2,000 targets with more than 2,000 munitions. We have severely degraded Iran's air defenses and destroyed hundreds of Iran's ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones. And in simple terms, we're focused on shooting all the things that can shoot at us. Our B-2 bombers and B-1 bombers have executed uncontested surgical strikes against multiple missile facilities deep inside Iran. And then just last night, a B-52 bomber force struck ballistic missile and command and control posts. We are also sinking the Iranian Navy, the entire Navy. Thus far, we've destroyed 17 Iranian ships, including the most operational Iranian submarine that now has a hole in its side. For decades, the Iranian regime has harassed international shipping. Today, there's not a single Iranian ship underway in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, or Gulf of Oman, and we will not stop. We will continue to conduct dynamic targeting operations. We're hunting Iran's last remaining mobile ballistic missile launchers to eliminate what I would characterize as their lingering launch capability.
It's pretty impressive, as we know our military is, but it's pretty impressive, even if you had some qualms about the strikes, the decision to strike Iran. You have to be pretty impressed by what the military's been able to do in the first few days of this campaign. Even as Hakeem Jeffries, this guy is so ill-equipped. He is really such a dolt. Hakeem Jeffries, the potentially future Speaker of the House, if Republicans can't find a way to hold the House in November, predicts failure for U.S. following strikes against Iran. Who would predict failure for the United States? The leader of a major party's caucus is predicting that the U.S. military will fail. First of all, that seems a very difficult case to make out in the merits. Secondly, I mean, it comes across as rooting against the United States. That's the level of the Trump derangement syndrome. You'll root against our military. You'll root against our country during a time of combat. That's that party. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or a text. CENTCOM Commander Cooper, nice alliteration, also addressed the impact of Iran's retaliatory strikes. Because as much as the Hakeem Jeffries of the world are trying to suggest that Trump has instigated a regional war in the Middle East, and the Middle East is on fire, and there's chaos, and so on and so forth. Again, a very difficult case to make out.
Now, in retaliation, the Iranian regime has launched over 500 ballistic missiles and over 2,000 drones. To be clear, Iran is indiscriminately targeting civilians as they launch these missiles and drones. You've seen it on TV. The evidence is crystal clear and overwhelming. Having said this, we are seeing Iran's ability to hit us and our partners is declining, while our combat power, on the other hand, is building. And my overall operational assessment is that we are ahead of our game plan. Along the way, every single branch of our military is achieving unprecedented success. I'll talk about just a few of them. Our naval forces have deployed multiple waves of cruise missiles, obliterating Iranian command and control and air defense capabilities. From 2 aircraft carrier strike groups, we're squeezing Iran from the sea and have them backed into their own ports. U.S. air forces are doing what they do best, executing a high volume of airstrikes right into Iran. Operationally, the 2 most powerful air forces in the world, the U.S. and Israel, are dominating the skies of the world's largest state sponsor of terror. Our U.S. Army soldiers are defending ourselves and our partners, and in a historic first, the U.S. Army fired long-range precision strike missiles called PrSMs in combat, providing an unrivaled deep strike capability. Also for the first time, U.S. Central Command's drone task force, called Task Force Scorpion Strike, launched countless one-way attack drones, achieving massive effects. I'd like to point out these drones were originally an Iranian design. We took them back to America, made them better, and fired them right back at Iran. I just could not be prouder of our men and women in uniform, leveraging innovation to create dilemmas for the enemy.
Indeed. 312-642-5600. I like the kamikaze drones, too. Certainly helps to keep servicemen and women out of harm's way. Speaking of which, the 4 Army Reserve soldiers that were killed, the first 4, have been identified. I just want to address that. Captain Cody Cork of Winter Haven, Florida. Sergeant First Class Noah Tietjens of Bellevue, Nebraska. Sergeant First Class Nicole Armour of White Bear Lake, Minnesota. And Sergeant Declan Cody of West Des Moines, Iowa. And there's some misreporting, apparently, by Margaret Brennan about those soldiers who were killed in action. Unsurprising, I did say Margaret Brennan, so misreporting sort of inevitably follows. She reported the first American service members to die in the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran were killed in an apparent Iranian drone attack on a makeshift office space in Kuwait. 3 U.S. military officials with direct knowledge of Iran's attack told CBS News. Well, Sean Parnell, who's a public affairs guy for Hegseth at the Department of War. This reporting, in scare quotes from CBS, is not true. A tactical operations center is not a makeshift office space. The secure facility was fortified with 6-foot walls. We have the most extensive air defense umbrella in the world over the Middle East right now, and control of the skies is increasing with every wave of air power. The Iranian Navy has been devastated, and our military is dominating, as you just heard from Commander Cooper. Every possible measure has been taken to safeguard our troops at every level. The department is prepared for this engagement and has hardened our defense as we moved a significant number of our troops off the X and will always protect our bases and people from a significantly weakened Iran. We will continue fighting in a way that honors our 6 fallen. No apologies, no hesitation. So, you know, the reporting to essentially suggest that this was haphazard or soldiers are not being properly protected or this wasn't sufficiently game planned. This is why Parnell felt the need to respond to that, which I understand. Megyn Kelly, for the sort of Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, neo-isolationist, in some instances bordering on the outright anti-Semitic position on this issue, and those first 4 that were killed in action who've been identified. Megyn Kelly said this, see if you concur.
My own feeling is no one should have to die for a foreign country. I don't think those 4 service members died for the United States. I think they died for Iran or for Israel. I think I understand how this helps Iran perfectly well. I get it. I mean, I hope. Long term, we'll see. But they seem rather jubilant. 80% of the country does not support the Ayatollah. He was a terrible, terrible man. No one's crying that he's dead. No normal person. But our government's job is not to look out for Iran or for Israel. It's to look out for us. And this feels very much, to me, like it is clearly Israel's war. Mark Levin wanted it. It's his war. Ben Shapiro, Lindsey Graham, Miriam Adelson. That's obvious. They're the ones who've been pushing us into this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These people, the donor class or the punditry class, they think they have much more influence than they actually do, both themselves as well as their counterparts with whom they're at odds on certain issues, like Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson are with Shapiro and Levin and so on and so forth. I find that all extremely boring, which is why I don't really talk about it. The food fights between pundits I find extremely boring. But the larger point, the attitude that those soldiers didn't die for America, but they died for Iran and or Israel, that this is Israel's war. You know, I think that's, to be generous, I think that's incredibly myopic. And on this idea that we discussed yesterday, but we'll repeat it because it keeps getting brought up for obvious reasons, that Israel forced Trump's hand. The president was asked about that yesterday and said this.
President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact.
Yeah, let's try this again in simple English. Marco Rubio did for the dullards in the D.C. press corps yesterday. Let me try to explain what we're doing again. It's been explained since Trump addressed the nation on Saturday, again and again and again. But there's some people that are slower learners, that are a little bit more hard-headed. They don't want to accept a very straightforward rationale and a conduct that is consistent with that very straightforward rationale. So Marco Rubio tried one more time. Megyn Kelly, listen up.
Listen, let me explain to you guys this in simple English. Okay? Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president made this decision. It was the right decision, and the world will be a safer place when these radical clerics no longer have access to these weapons. You see how they're using them now. Imagine how they would use them a year from now if they had more of these.
Matt, South Bend, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Thank you for taking my call, Dan. I was just going to say, Hakeem Jeffries, if anything happens within the United States of any cells or anything else, that's on him. And he's not even apologizing for taking care of the evil that is in Iran that is supporting this. And I have no conscience about telling Hakeem Jeffries that he needs to get himself away from politics. So also wanted to say from yesterday that the hillbilly interviews, moo, the cows have come home.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries then got into a back and forth with Bill Melugin because he was a bit confused. Not really, but wanted to understand the distinction between Obama taking upon himself with his Article 2 powers when he was president to launch strikes against Libya. And he didn't need congressional authorization. Nancy Pelosi said so. She continues to say so. But, of course, Trump does need authorization to do what he did, even though the parallels are obvious. So Melugin from Fox wanted Hakeem Jeffries to offer some clarity there, and this is the best Hakeem could do. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy is just so ill-equipped for this gig. He just does not have the skills. He's really, really, really not bright.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. Back in 2011, Nancy Pelosi said that then President Obama didn't need congressional approval to bomb Libya. Now House Democrats say President Trump needs that approval to bomb Iran. What's the difference?
Well, obviously, Libya
And the circumstances connected to that were very different than the circumstance that we face in Iran right now. I mean, I don't even understand the genesis or basis of that question, not suggesting that you're not asking it in good faith.
Libya went on for 7 months.
As I've indicated, first of all, I was not in Congress at the time.
So what?
So we're dealing with what we're dealing with right now, which is a catastrophic, endless war, as Donald Trump has characterized it, without any justification that there was going to be a preeminent assault or attack on the United States of America, either in our homeland or as it relates to our interests in the Middle East. The administration is not even pretending like they have intelligence or information at this point, publicly. And certainly there's been nothing that has been presented to us privately to justify a preemptive strike of this nature that has triggered an all-out war in the Middle East. And by the way, Donald Trump is the one who said in the aftermath of the 12-day war that Iran's nuclear program has been completely and totally obliterated. Not my words, his words. So was he lying to the American people then, or is he lying now?
Hakeem Jeffries thinks, like, if you intermittently raise your voice, it makes the point you're attempting to make more persuasive. It doesn't. You weren't in Congress then when Obama launched those strikes, so what? Did he have the authorization to do it or not? Do you agree with Nancy Pelosi or not? Well, it doesn't matter whether you were in Congress. And President Trump doesn't, because the situations are different. I mean, it's just this like endless stream of disconnected left-wing aphorisms. Endless war. This is, I mean, look, I understand the impatience of the American people, but to call combat operations that have lasted 4 days an endless war, I think that's a bit of a stretch. Don't you, Hakeem? That's a bit aggressive. Endless. Donald Trump has said this is an endless war. I don't believe he has. Not to mention he put essentially a 4 to 5 week clock on it. I that's really going to be hard to shoehorn into, endless wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And again, from the guy, by the way, I'm talking about Trump, who opposed the authorization of use of force, opposed the invasion of Iraq after 9/11. Boy, there's so little there. I feel the need to pour over, but and there's no intel. Well, first of all, was he lying then? Was he lying now? Well, first of all, there's intel that they were restarting their nuclear weaponization program. We got that from Dumowitz at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. I mentioned that on Monday. So if I have the intel, then I would think the House Minority Leader would be able to access that. And they had started it even deeper underground than where some of the previous nuclearization efforts were taking place before those strikes in June of last year. And then there's also this, too. Ryan Saavedra, who's Daily Wire, talked about the Iranian missile stockpile versus U.S. interceptor capacity and what was happening here. And this is part of what Trump and Rubio have been talking about the last 2 days with the need for a preemptive strike because of the belief that Iran was going to strike. Iran was building its ballistic missile stockpile so rapidly that the U.S. was not going to be able to manufacture enough interceptors to counter them. The result is that Iran would be free to pursue their nuclear weapons program because the West would not be able to attack Iran without sustaining serious damage from Iranian ballistic missiles. Rubio said, quoting Rubio, "This is what they were trying to do, to put themselves in a place of immunity where the damage they can inflict on the region would be so high that no one can do anything about their nuclear program or their nuclear ambitions." So the preemptive strike was to head that dynamic off at the pass, which the American military seems to have done. Okay, I'm glad we could get Hakeem Jeffries up to speed. He's only the House Minority Leader. Steve on the Northwest side.
Dan, good morning. I I cannot tell you, I do not recall ever being more proud to say I am an American than I am today. What this country has done in a short 2 months is unbelievable. We've gone into two separate countries. We've liberated those people and freed them. It is absolutely unbelievable. I am so happy. My grandsons are up in Wisconsin. They're so happy. They put big American flags on their bikes. They're up there riding around on their bikes with the American flag. I think, in my opinion, Donald Trump should go down in history as the greatest world leader ever. I'm a Reagan guy, but I think he got to take a back seat to Trump. And that's and one more thing. Take a look at the races in Texas. We lost Crenshaw, Crockett, and I think Al Green, which is fantastic news. We are on the right track. We've made America great again. I am so happy to be a part of that. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, I'm very saddened by Jasmine Crockett's inability to get out of the primary because, of course, I would prefer her to be the nominee. But we'll talk about that. Coming up at 6:06, we'll also talk about Kristi Noem's appearance before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Got a little testy with one Republican senator. That's 6:06. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
The U.S. and Israel keep up the attacks in Iran. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We've already struck nearly 2,000 targets.
U.S. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper ahead of another Pentagon update next hour. He says they've severely degraded Iran's air defenses and destroyed hundreds of missiles, launchers, and drones and sunk 17 ships.
For decades, the Iranian regime has harassed international shipping. Today, there's not a single Iranian ship underway in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, or Gulf of Oman.
The concern about fuel shipments have lifted prices of oil and gasoline. AAA's national average for regular up 9 more cents this morning, 20 cents in 2 days to $3.19 per gallon. Iran keeps counterattacking, targeting U.S. facilities in the region, prompting the State Department to urge Americans to leave countries there. 6 U.S. troops have been killed. Fox's Mark Meredith reports.
The Pentagon releasing the names of 4 of the 6 killed, which include 35-year-old Captain Cody Cork of Florida, Sergeants First Class Nicole Moore of Minnesota, she was 39, 42-year-old Noah T. Jins of Nebraska, and 20-year-old Declan Cody of Iowa. Nicole's husband, speaking with the Associated Press, quoted, "For her to be one of the first, it hurts."
And Iran is also getting ready to mourn their dead supreme leader killed over the weekend with a 3-day funeral. Fox's Trey Yingst reports.
In neighboring Iraq, in the city of Najaf, the birthplace of Iran's former Ayatollah, there was a symbolic funeral procession held today where people were chanting against the United States and cheering for the Iranian regime.
It is a symbolic funeral, which we consider a condemnation of the forces of tyranny, imperialism, and the Americans.
A Republican congressman in Texas has been primaried out. Dan Crenshaw defeated by Republican challenger Steve Toth. GOP Senator John Cornyn headed for a runoff against State Attorney General Ken Paxton. Neither got 50% in the Republican primary. Whoever wins in May will face James Tallarico, who beat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in the Democratic Senate primary. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 33 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Governor J.B. Pritzker says he was never on a plane with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Jim Talamonte reports.
During a U.S. House Oversight Committee hearing last Friday, former President Bill Clinton was asked who he normally brought on Epstein-connected flights.
It was on one of these trips, I think, that I had my first trip for the man who's now the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, and his wife.
Governor Pritzker spoke in Chicago on Tuesday and said the former president was mistaken.
I had never met Jeffrey Epstein. I was never on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. I was never on any plane with Jeffrey Epstein.
A former Clinton staffer posted a social media clarification of the former president's testimony, saying Pritzker did not travel with Epstein or Maxwell when he joined a Clinton Foundation trip in 2008. I'm Jim Talamonte.
A Westmont man accused of fatally stabbing a pregnant West Suburban Downers Grove woman is pleading not guilty. Natus Revucas has been charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder. The defendant gave his plea yesterday in DuPage County Court. He's also charged with aggravated arson, intentional homicide of an unborn child, armed robbery, and aggravated animal cruelty. Prosecutors say the 19-year-old defendant killed Eliza Morales in her apartment on January 26. He also stabbed her dog, stole her cell phone, and set the apartment on fire. Authorities say Rivakis was angry about the condition of a vehicle that he'd recently bought from Morales' husband. News is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder explains how prices come down.
GDP growth last quarter, 4.4%, 4.3%. People's incomes are rising faster than inflation. Everything is driven by gas prices. Everything has to be transported. So when people are paying far less now for gas than they were 5 years ago, it is a huge, huge boost to the wallet. And I think Trump deserves a lot of praise for this.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
If you'd like a smartphone that's really smart, download the OnePlace.com app, the app that will inspire your faith daily and provide answers to the biggest questions of all. OnePlace lets you download your favorite pastor's programs and listen even offline or in airplane mode with easy connections to your Bluetooth speaker or dashboard. To download your free OnePlace app, visit the iTunes App Store or the Google Play Store for your Android device and search for OnePlace. That's OnePlace.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion? That's billion with a B? Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Bakery owners, you will be loved today. Every pastry will be flaky. Your cake will make a child's day. Your delivery van won't get sideswiped by a distracted garbage truck driver. But if so, breathe easy, knowing you'll get back to business quickly with Progressive protecting your commercial auto. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic, could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did, they gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Just 14 minutes both ways on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, and the Kennedy looks good inbound from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound is 21. We are slow on the northbound Tri-State. Just lots of volume on that exit ramp to get onto the westbound Ike. On the Eisenhower, it's 14 minutes both ways from Wolf to the old post office. The Stevenson is 24 in, 21 out from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore, 14 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, but a little bit sluggish in the express lanes between Pershing Road and the Stevenson. I-57 and the Bishop Ford also slow down as you approach the Dan Ryan. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special member-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be
mostly cloudy with a high of 48. Tonight, expect periods of rain with a low of 40. Tomorrow will be cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm into the early afternoon, reaching a high of 45. On Friday, it will remain cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm as the temperature climbs to 68, approaching the record of 70 last reached in 2000. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, don't you know, she was before the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday, and she opened by challenging Senate Democrats to fund DHS.
The latest Democrat-led shutdown of DHS is reckless, it's unnecessary, and it undermines the American national security, and it harms the men and women who work at DHS and their families. Despite the House passing a bipartisan, bicameral full-year DHS funding bill, it is Senate Democrats who've chosen not to fund the department and have held this department hostage. As a result, critical national security missions, including border security, immigration enforcement, aviation security, disaster response, cybersecurity, and the protection of critical infrastructure are all being strained. Our ability to provide for a safe and successful World Cup is being hindered as well. More than 100,000 dedicated DHS employees are once again being asked to work without pay for the third time in just 5 months.
Yeah, amid everything else that's going on, don't forget that you still have Senate neo-Marxists using DHS funding as a political football vis-a-vis ICE and demanding, all of these quote-unquote structural reforms of ICE in order to fund the agencies within DHS that Kristi Noem just mentioned. But there was some other developments there, in addition to the funding issue, which was good to revisit, since the other side and the D.C. Press Corps, of course, decries any sort of use of taxpayer funding of federal agencies to affect policy ends. When Republicans do it, it is worth raising the specter. But some of the other things that she mentioned were not surprising, but also good to revisit. There's a lot of action going on here with respect to Department of Homeland Security, with respect to enforcement and removal operations, with respect to everything that has been unearthed as serious, if not systematic, nationwide problems that are directly connected to open borders policies, and the open borders abolish ICE sanctuary state politicians. For example, something else that you would think would be of interest to the D.C. Press Corps, but no, not really. All of those unaccompanied minors that disappeared into the country that Tom Homan brings up again and again, another significant aspect of the work that DHS officers are doing that goes completely unacknowledged and unappreciated by the left for obvious reasons, because who could be against finding kids who disappeared into this country, in many cases who have been or are being in real time exploited? Because, for example, under Ali Mayorkas and Joe Biden, DHS was actually paying sponsors that they hadn't vetted. And so many of those sponsors turned out to be predators, of course.
Accompanied alien children were lost by the Biden administration, not tracked. We've located about 145,000 of them, and we've done that through the investigative work of our Homeland Security Investigations Team. They are phenomenal at the work that they do, and they specialize in child trafficking, sex trafficking, and finding individuals that would perpetuate that harm against our children. The one thing that has been challenging is that under the Biden administration, the government paid sponsors in HHS in order to host these children. And those sponsors, many times, we found instances where they trafficked these children themselves. So under that administration, we not only had children that were in this country as a part of a program, the government was paying individuals that were knowingly trafficking them and abusing them. That has stopped. We have gone through and found these children.
Good news. The federal government is no longer paying child traffickers. That's progress. The fact that we were doing it, allegedly, unwittingly, but regardless, these are the same people that are obsessed about a reckoning for, all of those in Epstein's orbit. And I'm fine with that, too. But you're opposed to child exploitation across the board, right? So you certainly want to take notice of what the federal government was doing under the previous administration, the consequences of that, and what this administration is doing to try and remediate what occurred as much as possible, including just locating the kids first and foremost. I mean, ironically, you had Tim Tebow testifying before a congressional committee again and making the rounds on TV. I saw he was on Ingram's show and others, because Tim Tebow has made this a particular part of his life's work, his philanthropic work at least. I'm talking about trying to protect children, I should say, from predators. And he's not specifically talking about traffickers as much as he is those who are consumers of child porn, which is a pretty good leading indicator that they're child predators. Listen to what he had to say before Congress and the extent of the problem in this country. He showed a map with, pinpricks of all of the areas around the country where someone has downloaded child porn. And we have 10 case officers, according to Tebow, devoted to this, that I think are housed. I can't remember the name of the agency, but 10 case officers for a problem that is in the hundreds of thousands.
Every one of those red dot maps is a unique IP address that is downloaded, shared, or distributing child rape images, almost all under the age of 12. And that's just a 6-month screenshot of it. And there are over 338,000 on there. There's blue dots on there. You can't really see them, but the blue ones are the ones that are under investigation. In a sea of red. Isn't that a problem of what we're talking about?
Yeah. So it's a problem on the law enforcement side there. It's a problem on the law enforcement side with respect to all of the various programs that were exploited by the previous administration to funnel people into this country illegally, regardless of what happened to them or regardless of what they happened to do to American citizens or other people in this country illegally, frankly. Another aspect of the update that Kristi Noem could have given, the president's administration, the Trump administration, has now pulled nearly 13,000 commercial truck drivers off the roads because they were unable to read English road signs. 13,000. 145,000 kids. 13,000 people with CDL licenses they shouldn't have. They shouldn't be on the roads. How many thousands of murderers and rapists and other violent criminals have been allowed in the universe of 600,000 or so that you'll remember the last administration's DHS disclosed to Congressman Anthony Gonzalez per his inquiry? Hundreds of thousands of people that had criminal charges pending or had been convicted of crimes in addition to being in this country illegally. And then there's the kids. And then there's the CDL problem. And then there's the benefits fraud. I mean, the layers of horrors that have been visited upon this country by that party, and it is that party, and with maybe a few quislings in the Republican Party, is astounding. And every day you just pull back another layer to it. So Kristi Noem might have taken that tack when Dick Durbin did what you knew he or somebody like him would do, which is get into this business of what percentage of people that ICE has apprehended ICE and CBP have apprehended are violent criminals and which are not, and so on and so forth. There was Tom Tillis, the outgoing Republican from North Carolina, got all uppity that the numbers don't matter, the quality of the numbers, that's what matters. No, actually both matter. The numbers matter and the quality of the numbers matter, because there is a rank order prioritization with limited resources. So you want to use resources to their highest best use. So you definitely want to go for the worst of the worst first. But as Tom Homan argued, we've argued, everybody's argued, you sanctuary Pauls, you abolish ICE sanctuary Pauls, you won't cooperate, and you force ICE and CBP into the neighborhoods, and then you decry the results of what happens in the neighborhoods, where you have made it a more unsafe situation for all parties concerned, where you have exposed additional people in addition, outside of the worst to enforcement and removal operations because they're here illegally, and so they're still subject to those operations. You've done that, and then you try and flip it on us.
The rapists. And then it turns out that 85% of the people you've gone after have no criminal history whatsoever. How do you explain that?
Sir, when you talk about violent crimes, what you're saying, the crimes that don't matter, that you aren't counting, are ones that affect American families every single day. You're not counting DUIs. You're not counting embezzlements. You're not counting theft. And you're not counting the other crimes against people and drug trafficking and proliferating that. So if you don't count those as crimes, that these individuals and impacting families in this country.
They are counted, and they calculate 14% of those that
those are not counted in your 14%. If you were counting crimes that these illegal aliens in this country have committed, it would be well over 65 to 70% of the individuals that are detained today have those crimes on their record, besides the crime of being in this country illegally.
Going to back that up with some information for me?
Absolutely, I will.
I certainly hope you will.
Yeah. Hey, Sack of Durbin, how about this? Hey, Sack, let's use your number, 14%. Okay, so let's say 14% of those apprehended by DHS are violent criminals. 14% of, well, let's go back to the Biden DHS number that Anthony Gonzalez was able to obtain in writing. Round number, 600,000. Okay, so let me ask you a question, Sack. Is it worth it for ICE to go out and apprehend and remove 90,000 violent criminals from America's streets? 90,000 is a big number. That's a small percentage of the overall number, thanks to you and your friends. But even, I'm not stipulating that what you said is true, but let's just say it is true. You think you have an argument. You don't have an argument. You're conceding at the worst that DHS has removed 90,000 violent criminal illegal aliens from America's streets. Shouldn't I be taking a bow, Sack? 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. Christine Elm also had a fun exchange because, of course, they were trotting out all of their hobby horses, something that Jelly Belly has been bellowing about for the last year, that Trump is going to steal the midterms because he's going to deploy ICE agents to polling places, and they're going to run away with the ballot boxes and turn them over to Stephen Miller and so on and so forth, whatever their conspiracy theory is. So the noxious Chris Coons, nice lid, from Delaware, pressed Noam on that.
ICE should be deployed at the polls in the next election. Will you rule out the deployment of ICE or CBP to polling places this November?
There are no plans to have ICE officers at our polling locations. And
I'm glad to hear that, but would you rule it out? Would you say it will not happen?
Do you plan on illegal aliens voting in our elections, Senator?
I do not.
In fact, then there should be no need to. Unless you plan on illegal aliens voting.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not going to have illegals voting, then what are you worried about? Yeah, that's good. That was effective. Score 1 for Kristi Noem there. And then, of course, the exchange with Thom Tillis, who is particularly unhappy with Kristi Noem as it pertains to ICE operations. He's interested in the quality of the numbers. And he's making all sorts of threats, too, on his way out the door to be obstreperous if he doesn't get the information he wants. I don't think Kristi Noem is particularly good. I don't think she's a particularly good fit for this role. But Thom Tillis is a buffoon. This is so out of bounds. And again, and she wasn't really given much of a chance to answer here, so this isn't on her. But, just start from these phony premises they start from and skewer them with it. Just not as, facile as she should be, or someone in that position should be. Call Tom Homan in from the bullpen.
Wants out of the White House. We just want numbers. We want 1,000 a day, 6,000 a day, 9,000 a day, because numbers matter, right? No, they don't matter. Quality matters, not quantity, quality. And what we've seen is a disaster. Under your leadership, Ms. Noem, a disaster. What we've seen is innocent people getting detained that turn out are American citizens. I could talk about the culture that's been created here with Stephen Miller aiding and abetting. I heard first reports that he was the one that said it was a domestic terrorist situation where 2 people lost their lives in Minneapolis. I've heard that report. Maybe you can refute it. I don't know that we'll have time for you to respond because I'm giving you a performance evaluation here. I'm not looking for a response. And I'm saying, Ms. Noem, that time after time after time I've been disappointed.
Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't get the numbers that he wants...
But I want to submit this letter from the Office of Inspector General that cites 10 different instances under Ms. Noem's leadership where they've been misled and not allowed to pursue investigations that they think are critically important. Does anybody have any idea how bad it has to be for the OIG in this agency to come out and do this publicly? That is stonewalling. That's a failure of leadership, and that is why I've called for your resignation. And if I don't get an answer to these questions, I don't want an applause. Please don't do that for me. If I don't get an answer to these questions, if I don't get an answer that you've had a month to respond to, and the remaining ones, as of today, I'll be informing leadership that I'm putting a hold on any en-bloc nominations until I get a response. And in 2 weeks, if I don't get a response, I'm going to deny quorum and markup in as many committees as I can until I get a response. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's the hill he wants to die on his way out the door. Thankfully, he is a short timer for the Senate. Brian McCann, who is a member of an Angel family. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Good interview this morning.
Thank you.
I was telling you, 10 years ago, I testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee in Durban, right before it was my turn to testify about what happened to my brother in Logan Square. He walks out. I called him on it, and he sends a kid to summon me up to his office, and I couldn't because I was waiting to talk to John Cass's people because he wanted to write it up, And he babbles on and on and on that he was some excuse that he had to prepare for some speech. But here I am, a constituent. My brother's killed, and this guy walks out on me. It was absurd.
Mm-hmm. That's emblematic. I know we've talked about Denny before, but for those who haven't heard the story, can you briefly recount what happened to your brother?
2011, June in Logan Square. He's calling on a client in a Mexican restaurant, and he walks across the street, and Saul Chavez hits him and drags him a better part of a block and a half, and then he died a violent death. It was pretty traumatic for his his daughters, and the rest of the family. And I embarked on essentially a one-man crusade to return justice, and justice eventually was returned 2 years ago, and the bad guy's in jail downstate right now. But it was, that's Durbin for you. I to this day, I'll never forget that day.
Well, Durbin, and I know from your story, the account that you provided, and Preckwinkle and the power structure in Illinois and Cook County. It's been like that way for a long time. I mean, you finally got justice for
the whole gang. Yeah.
You finally got justice for Denny, but it took 2 years after Preckwinkle essentially allowed Denny's killer to escape.
Yeah. They passed that ordinance in August. 2 months after Denny was killed, they passed the ordinance that Cook County went sanctuary, and that enabled the bad guy, his brother, to post the $25,000 to get him out. And nobody, and the assistant state's attorney didn't even know about it. I had a caller that Monday morning, it was a Sunday when he was released, and she was stunned. But eventually justice was returned, so
Brian,
God
thanks.
is good, but thank God Dick Durbin is not going to be no more after this year.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Brian. Appreciate it. Always good to hear from you. Yeah, Dick Durbin is going to be no more, but what will the Illinois electorate in its infinite wisdom replace him with? Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Safety. It's so important at your industrial facility. You need to keep your personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. One problem with your ladders, platforms, or safety guards, and you could be facing costly fines. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a business owner, I realize the importance of keeping my employees safe, and I'm here to offer my expertise. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment, including walkways, handrails, stairways, and machinery guards. Our Vans Industrial team can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality goods, and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
It's news, opinion, and insight at the speed of your life. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Good morning. It is 35 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Elijah Hort is back home safe with his family. The 23-year-old was reported missing after he failed to board a flight back home to France following a visit with his family here in Chicago. No details were given regarding his disappearance. Alderman Ray Lopez has introduced a proposal aimed at curbing teen takeovers by holding parents accountable. The measure would impose penalties including up to $1,000 in fines, community service, and mandatory counseling if minors commit a crime during one of those gatherings. The ordinance did not advance out of committee on Tuesday on a 10-5 vote, but Lopez says he plans to bring back a revised version. A separate curfew expansion proposal is also under consideration by the council. And Governor J.B. Pritzker says he's not concerned about delayed legislative action tied to a possible Bears Stadium project. Lawmakers will not return to Springfield for more than 2 weeks, postponing debate on infrastructure funding for the team's Arlington Heights site. News is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of your roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees retribution.
When people who have held immense power in this country start talking like this, when they sound desperate, when they sound unhinged, when they sound like they want to punish their fellow Americans, it tells you something deeper is going on out there. It's retribution for their enemies. This has become the norm for the Democratic Party.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do. It's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment. so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM560 sent you.
Temperatures are cooling, but not concerns about inflation, market volatility, and taxes. Revisit your financial plan this winter. BestGen Wealth Partners work with individuals to develop personalized plans that help navigate changing conditions with confidence. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com to learn more.
Advisory services offered through BestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and BestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. BestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Hey, it's Scott Jennings inviting you to join me on the unforgettable Gulf of America cruise happening this November 2026. Imagine it, turquoise waters, white sand, beaches, incredible food, and insightful conversations about the future of our great country. Mike Gallagher and I will dive into the issues shaping America as we cruise through some of the most stunning destinations while honoring the 250th anniversary of our nation. Text cruise to 94878 or visit scottjenningsshow.com and click the cruise banner to sign up today.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still looking great on the Edens, about 15 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Burnt Interchange, 18 minutes. Outbound is 28, very slow into Manheim Road. The Jane Addams exit ramps are very slow eastbound to get off onto the Tri-State and also onto the road into O'Hare. 15 minutes both ways on the Ike from Wolf to the old post office. 16 in, 15 out on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. 15 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burnt Interchange. Stop and go on the Bishop Ford inbound from 111th Street to the Dan Ryan, and you are slow on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless. Every now and then you find a deal that actually feels like a win. With Straight Talk Wireless, you get more and pay less now. That's a good deal. No contracts, no credit checks, no surprises, all on Verizon 5G network. Find it in the same place you've always found Straight Talk prices, exclusively at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy with a high of 48. Tonight, expect periods of rain with a low of 40. Tomorrow will be cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm into the early afternoon, reaching a high of 45. On Friday, it will remain cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, with the temperature climbing to 68, approaching the record of 70 last reached in 2000. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So the Supreme Court enjoined a California law that would allow kids to be transed by their schools without their parents' knowledge. You would think that's non-controversial, but you'd be wrong. You would exhibit a misunderstanding of what the neo-Marxist party is interested in. So this is, pending additional litigation on the topic. Attorney Erin Friday has a story to tell, and she told it to the Epoch Times about what happened when she did not go along with her 13-year-old.
Well, it goes back to when I found out that my daughter, who was 13 years old, just starting high school, was secretly socially transitioned at school, meaning that the school started to call my daughter by a male name, use male pronouns, and when I called the school and told them to stop, that next week, Child Protective Services was at my door. The next day, the police. And that was an immediate alert to me that the school wants to know better than wants to parent my child, and that if I didn't follow and call my daughter a boy, that Child Protective Services may come and take my child away. And at the time, I didn't really know how dangerous the situation was. I later learned that parents in Southern California had lost custody of their children because she wouldn't transition her daughter, she wouldn't call her daughter a male, and CPS took her child. So now I knew that I already had a black mark, and a few months later my daughter ran away, and the normal thing for a parent to do is to ask law enforcement to help find your child. She's 13, female, alone at night. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I can't make that phone call because I know that there's already a file opened up on me and that Child Protective Services can swoop in anytime and take my child.
So many things going through my head, at this moment. Is this a kind of blackmail? Like, how do you describe this scenario that if you don't basically follow what these people are demanding of you, you might lose your child?
Well, it's coercion at its highest level. It's telling a parent that you either need to transition your child or you don't get to keep your child. It's forcing a parent to socially transition their child and later medicalize their child. Puts them in a position of the worst position a parent could be in is knowing that the government is coming after you because you believe in biological sex. You want to raise your daughter as a daughter that you birthed, that no human has ever changed sex, and you have the government telling you, no, you're abusive. You don't get to parent your child. The government knows better. This is America. This is insane.
And of course, a few weeks back, Varian Einhorn became the first transitioner to be awarded a verdict against her doctors she sued for the mutilation, taking her down this primrose path of transitioning. Chloe Cole, who's been prominent here, a 21-year-old, her case is moving. It's headed to trial. Kaiser Permanente is the Deep Pockets that she's suing for fraud, malpractice, and damages after they medically transitioned her between the age of 12 and 16 with puberty blockers, testosterone, eventually ending in a double mastectomy surgery to get rid of her breasts. And Chloe has been very public about the great health harm it has done to her and the irreversible negative impact on her health that she'll have for the rest of her life as a result. And it speaks to this larger issue that our friend Leonard Sachs opined about. Leonard Sachs is a child psychiatrist. The politicization of American parenting. For better or worse, parents have to choose a side. Jason was absorbed in a game on his phone, so I asked his mom, how long has Jason had the stomach ache? Mom, and I think I should say, he's a family doctor, so he's not just a psychiatrist, family physician, I should say. Jason absorbed in the game on his phone, so I asked his mom, how long has Jason had the stomach ache? Mom responded, I'm thinking it's been about 2 days. Jason then piped in, shut up, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. And he gave a snooty laugh without looking up from his video game. Jason was 10 years old at the time. Maybe a mom gave me a sheepish look as if to say, what can you do? Dr. Sachs writes, I've been a family physician for more than 30 years. 20 years ago, behavior like Jason's would have been unimaginable. Now it's common. More to the point, 20 years ago, I did not perceive a political dimension to parenting. Some parents were too strict, some parents were too permissive, and some parents were just right. I saw no connection between parenting style and parental politics. Back then, I could tell you about parents who were left of center, ACLU card-carrying liberals who were also strict, authoritative parents. Not anymore. Today, left of center parents are more likely to be permissive, and permissive parents are more likely to be left of center. That's new. Jason's mom is left of center. I know this because she wore Harris Walls buttons during the 2024 election. It's a leading indicator. But even without the buttons, I could have guessed her political affiliation. Dr. Sachs goes on to say, left of center parents are now uncomfortable exercising their authority as parents. Their kids are now more likely to be defiant and disrespectful. Again, that wasn't true 20 years ago. He offers another story to illustrate the culture of disrespect that is now commonplace in the parent-child relationship, at least if the parents are left of center. Brett was a good student in elementary school, but in middle school, his grades tanked. Teachers reported he wasn't paying attention. They filled out Connor scales, a validated measure of attention in the classroom setting. Across the board, he was off the chart, not paying attention in any class. His parents took him to a board-certified child psychiatrist who did an assessment, looked at the Connor scales, and said, it certainly looks like ADHD. Let's try Vyvanse and see if it helps. Vyvanse is an ADHD medication, and was, in fact, tremendously helpful for Brett. The teacher called Brett's mom the very first day he was on it. I had no idea Brett was so bright, so smart. What a difference. But Brett soon developed side effects from the medication, jitteriness, loss of appetite, facial tic. His parents saw articles I had written for the New York Times and elsewhere expressing concern about stimulants such as Vyvanse and Adderall. They came to me for a second opinion. I did a more careful sleep history. Does Brett get plenty of sleep? Absolutely. We make sure he's in his bedroom every night at 9. We wake him up at 6. That's 9 hours. Do you have a video game console in your bedroom? I asked Brett. Of course, doesn't everybody? What were you playing last night? Absolutely. What were you playing? Red Dead Redemption 2. When did you finish? 1:30. You were playing video games at 1:30 last night, Mom said, astonished. Is that pretty typical, I asked? Yeah, usually 2. Sometimes 2, usually 1:15, 1:30. Sachs goes on to write, Brett, like most children, needs at least 8 hours of sleep a night, and he tells us he's getting less than 5. Sleep deprivation perfectly mimics ADHD of the inattentive variety, which was his diagnosis. Vyvanse was very helpful. What's Vyvanse? What's Adderall? These are amphetamines, speed. They compensate for the sleep deprivation, but the appropriate remedy for sleep deprivation is sleep, not Schedule II amphetamines. And he goes on to just say, look, the mom here is clueless. She has no idea her son was staying up past midnight playing video games. Now, instead of exercising authority, she wants to leave the console in his bedroom and talk to him about limits, which is analogous to talking to an alcoholic about limits while giving him unlimited access to alcohol. It won't work. This all happened 2 years ago. Mom had a Biden button on her purse. 312-642-5600 about the left-of-center parenting. If you've noticed the same left-of-center parents and their parenting style, if you've noticed the same things that Dr. Sachs is noticing, and he sees a lot of different families, this is really interesting because, of course, these are less extreme examples of the transition, the gender bending, the transitioning predators in K through 12 school systems and on the left generally. But they're all of the same kind. And part of why this stuff happens and why we were treated to so many instances of, say, girls playing boys' sports before there was a bit of a common sense counter-revolution on the topic. Hardly over, though. Hardly over. In fact, it's International Women's Day, apparently, on Saturday. And here's one celebration in Australia.
International Women's Day for and by trans women is happening this Saturday. We have a whole day of workshops, discussions, and community activities for and by trans women. This is such an exciting event. Ticket sales close this Wednesday. Don't miss out. We've also been receiving some questions about the event location. The location will be released 24 hours before the event happens, so keep an eye on those emails. If you haven't bought a ticket, don't wait.
International Women's Day celebration featuring men pretending to be women. That's hardly over. But going back to the choice, you're going to have to choose. 30 years ago, you didn't have to choose. And now you're going to have to make choices you're maybe disinclined to want to make. But the consequences are, well, these stories that we're telling. You know, the localized story of the kid with on ADHD drugs when he should just have a little bit more parental oversight and be getting to sleep earlier. Take the video game console away. And then obviously all the way to Aaron Friday having Child Protective Services and law enforcement try to separate her daughter from her because she's not on board with the transitioning that was happening in school. Back to Brett, Dr. Sachs observes that a generation ago, Brett may have been a Boy Scout. Well, but then the Boy Scouts are no longer the Boy Scouts. It's another good example of having to take a stand. And what happens when you don't? When it's time, you lose your organization. That's what happened to the Boy Scouts. Membership has declined since its peak of about 6.5 million in 1972. And the organization eventually found itself being tugged left ideologically. No kidding. First it was homosexuals, then it's Mormons, then it's girls. By 2020, membership was down to 1.8 million, less than a third of its 72 peak. And the Boy Scouts continue to leftward ideological shift, transitioning to fully co-ed, formally changing its name to Scouting America. You know this. Membership's now down to about 1 million, including 176,000 girls. Good way to destroy your organization or your family. Don't take a stand. Mm-hmm. The choice which increasingly confronts American parents, writes Sachs, secular, left of center, or religious/conservative. The dichotomy is even more dramatic in our schools. Over the past 25 years, I've visited more than 500 schools, public and private, urban, suburban, rural, from Alaska to Florida, Hawaii to Maine. In 2001, when I first began these visits, I didn't see much difference between schools in blue states and red states. There were good schools and bad schools, authoritative teachers, permissive teachers, and the variation did not vary by political affiliation. Again, not anymore. Today, I can tell you within 5 minutes and with my eyes closed the political affiliation of a school. If a teacher says, boys and girls, please line up quietly, then the school has a conservative right-of-center affiliation. Guaranteed. Many urban left-of-center school districts no longer permit teachers to use the phrase boys and girls because that term is not inclusive of non-binary individuals. Exactly. The Senate candidate for the Neo-Marxist Party in Texas, James Tallarico, who fashions himself some sort of Christian minister of sorts, famously said this.
Is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Mm-hmm. God is non-binary. So what advice does Dr. Sachs have for you, the parents? Try to find a school and community that is diverse, welcoming, and apolitical. Good luck. Apolitical? The problem, of course, is that even the schools that want to be apolitical, the left will predate on them, and then they have a decision to make. It's that old saw. You can choose not to take an interest in politics, but it doesn't mean politics won't take an interest in you. Then what do you do? The ostrich approach doesn't really work. He goes on to say, which I know many of our listeners agree, I've become a big fan of classical schools, which prioritize the teaching of virtue and character. These schools are enjoying a dramatic surge in popularity. Most have a religious affiliation. Although the Heritage Foundation lists 156 secular classical schools in its online directory, Hillsdale College has established a network of classical public charter schools with 23 member schools, 14 candidate schools, another 69 schools that teach the Hillsdale classical curriculum. Mm-hmm. And, oh, by the way, over the top, the Trump administration is on this as well. Again, this has been subordinated to some of the more pressing issues of the moment, but Stephen Miller recently said this about federal education dollars and how they will be allocated.
Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology. For any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves and to hate their country. So these are a few of the areas in which President Trump has fought the cancerous communist woke culture that was destroying this country, where we were led to believe that men were women, that women were men, that racial discrimination was good, that merit was bad, and that safety and physical security mattered less than the feelings of liberal ideologues.
So there you go. Well, maybe one threshold clearer or a litmus test could be, has this school received federal DOE dollars from the Trump administration under the construct that Stephen Miller just articulated? If they have, then you're probably in a good place. And if they haven't, you're probably not. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you prepared for the Illinois state tax? If your estate is worth over $4 million, your heirs could face a tax bill of up to 16% when you pass. Financial advisor Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions can show you ways to potentially reduce or even eliminate that burden. One strategy is to start gifting assets during your lifetime to lower the taxable value of your estate. Another option is setting up irrevocable trusts, which can shield wealth from estate taxes. Charitable donations and life insurance policies can also be smart tools to offset tax liabilities. Call Scott Tucker and the Scott Tucker Solutions team now, 847-474-3888, or go to 560retirement.com. That's 847-474-3888, or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
Speaking of Leonard Sachs, Neil Fagan just texted me. He's the headmaster at Northridge Prep, which is a great school. In Niles, there. Leonard Sachs speaking at Northridge in 10 days, Saturday, March 14th at 7 p.m. So if you've heard, probably those who listen to the show regularly have heard Leonard Sachs on this program before. It was really good. So if you're interested in picking up where we left off with my review of his op-ed, Saturday, March 14th at 7 p.m. at Northridge Prep, northridgeprep.org for details and tickets if there is even required. Are you confident your IT systems are rock solid? There could be cracks you don't see. Don't leave your technology to chance. Take the Access One $10,000 challenge to find out. For more than 30 years, Access One has helped businesses strengthen their security, protect their data, and improve resistance to cyber vulnerabilities, all with reliable U.S.-based support. And here's their promise. If their experts can't identify at least one measurable improvement to your IT systems and processes based on NIST or CIS regulations, they will reward your compliance excellence with $10,000. This free confidential risk assessment is available to businesses with between 25 and 500 employees. And it's a great way to verify your IT is secure and efficient. No gimmicks, just proven results from an experienced IT partner. So are you ready to put Access One to the test? To do so, visit accessoneInc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555 to schedule your risk assessment today. Again, that's accessoneInc.com/challenge or 800-654-1555. Certain conditions apply. See details online.
She's unafraid and unapologetic. She's Laura Trump, and she's shaking things up on the Right View podcast.
We're the side with the mean stuff? Are you guys kidding? You call us Nazis. You call us fascists. You call Donald Trump Hitler from the left. Really? We're the side that's the problem. You're out assaulting ICE agents every chance you possibly get.
Subscribe to the Right View podcast with Laura Trump on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:07, this is always a treat. Former First Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump, KT McFarland, joins us 7:07 to discuss where we are 5 days in, the Iran campaign, and the implications of Ayatollah Khamenei keeping it in the family with his son allegedly tapped to be the successor. That's at 7:07. Now we check the headlines because it is 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
They're urged to leave the Middle East, but many Americans can't. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
It's quite difficult, actually, to find real information. The State Department has been helpful. They've been providing alerts.
No, that's Louise Hurley, stuck in Dubai. And just before she went on Fox,
I found out that our flight tonight has also been canceled. So we're, kind of back to square one, not sure when we're going to be getting out.
this as Iran keeps targeting U.S. facilities in the region. And a short time ago on state TV, Iran's Revolutionary Guard threatened the complete destruction of the region's military and economic infrastructure. Iran and Hezbollah just launched more rockets and missiles into Israel. And then
Turkey's Ministry of Defense says that an Iranian ballistic missile was launched toward their country, and it was shot down by NATO air defense systems.
That's Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv.
This comes as the Israelis are going after more of those launching positions inside of Iran, strikes against the Iranian capital of Tehran.
Now, that we'll get an update from War Secretary Pete Hegseth any minute now from the Pentagon. The U.S. has hit nearly 2,000 targets in Iran so far. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, tells Fox Business this remains the goal.
Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. They can't have the ballistic missiles that hold the entire region
But
hostage.
Democrats, unsatisfied with briefings, are considering a war powers resolution this week in Congress trying to limit U.S. action.
Donald Trump has unconstitutionally and illegally chosen to launch a war.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, a congressman's been voted out in Texas. Dan Crenshaw's re-election bid ends with a primary loss to a Republican challenger in the race for a Texas Senate seat.
James Tallarico defeated Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in that hotly contested primary. We don't know yet what Republican Tallarico is going to face. The Republican race there is going to come down to a runoff in May between Senator John Cornyn and State Attorney General Ken Paxton.
That's Doug Luzader. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 35 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. We'll see cloudy skies today and a slight chance for a rain shower. Highs topping out at 42 degrees. Chicago taxpayers may face higher costs if the city follows through with a reported bond deal. Jim Talamonte has more.
The Chicago Tribune editorial board reported that Mayor Brandon Johnson is structuring the city's debt with a $500 million deal to cover back pay owed to firefighters and anticipated lawsuit costs. Thomas Monsheen is an economics professor at DePaul University.
If they signed a collective bargaining agreement and pay is retroactive and they haven't paid it yet, that's a liability, as well as the legal settlements.
Monsheen said these are real costs that the city owes.
You pay for it with, higher taxes or reallocations from other parts of the budget.
I'm Chip Talamonte.
Police are asking for your help in finding a 16-year-old girl who was last seen Tuesday in West Garfield Park. Authorities say Fabiano Brown was last seen leaving the area of West Flournoy Street, and she's described as 5'11", 190 pounds with black hair and a nose piercing. She was last seen wearing a black bodysuit, green jacket, and black slippers. Anyone with information is asked to contact the police. And Pokemon Go Fest is returning to Grant Park this summer after the Chicago Park District approved a 2-year permit for the event. Organizers expect up to 40,000 fans per day and estimate the festival could generate about $1 million a day in revenue for the city. Tickets will start at $28 for early purchases, $33 for general admission, with park sessions and citywide gameplay included. More details about featured Pokemon and programming are expected later this month. This news report is the service of the AM560 mobile app. Listen to AM560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM560 The Answer.
Alex Marla explains the latest on tariffs.
Supreme Court strikes down Trump tariffs. This decision comes after the tariffs are obviously working. Okay, so what's going to happen next? The administration is going to try to replace some of the tariffs using other trade statutes. That's where it's going to get interesting, complicated. It's going to take a lot of time for all of us to sort through this.
The Alex Marla Show, afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion? That's billion with a B? Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Bakery owners, you will be loved today. Every pastry will be flaky. Your cake will make a child's day. Your delivery van won't get sideswiped by a distracted garbage truck driver. But if so, breathe easy, knowing you'll get back to business quickly with Progressive protecting your commercial auto. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The following is a paid political announcement.
There's one thing I really want to say to Donald Trump. If you come for my people, you come through me.
That was Pritzker's challenge to President Trump. But who are Pritzker's people? They're the more than 1,700 illegal alien predators he helped escape from ICE. They're the illegal aliens whose health care, rent, and college tuition you pay for. You can't afford to stay because Pritzker makes you pay for his people. Well, I have a message for you, Governor. I'll be coming for you and going through you. Your days and the days of sanctuary living for your people are over. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still doing great on the Edens, 15 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose, and 27 minutes in both directions on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne Interchange. We are stop and go inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the old post office, 28 minutes. Outbound is 17. The Stevenson is 42 minutes inbound from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore, 23 on the reverse side, and jammed in the local lanes on the Dan Ryan from 47th Street to the Stevenson with an accident accident right before the Stevenson, so it's 26 minutes from 95th to the Burn interchange. Outbound is 11, and the express lanes also are slow as you head towards the Stevenson. Outbound side of I-57, that slows down with an accident blocking the left lane at the CalSag channel. This report is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Croft University and the Sean Thompson Show, when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy with a high of 48. Tonight, expect periods of rain with a low of 40. Tomorrow will be cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm into the early afternoon, reaching a high of 45. On Friday, it will remain cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, with the temperature climbing to 68, approaching the record of 70 last reached in 2000. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. One really interesting sort of below-the-fold aspect of the combat operations in Iran and their potential global economic impact has to deal with insurance markets. And I didn't really appreciate this till I started seeing some of the chatter online about it. And then the president responded. I mean, the good news is on almost every front or every assertion that's being made, from munitions to insurance to protecting American soldiers as best as they can be protected in a theater of combat, to the sequencing of how Israeli and U.S. combat operations occurred. I mean, the administration has been on it. They've got their best people out there. They're addressing things. They're addressing them over and over, because you have to say the same thing 12 times for it to penetrate the consciousness of most members of the D.C. press corps. I understand that. But this insurance thing, this is one of the posts I saw from a guy who used to be in the Merchant Marine. Potentially the biggest Iran story no one's talking about. The global insurance market may be heading toward a systemic crisis. Most people don't realize London isn't just a financial center. It's the center of global insurance. Lloyd's of London underwrites 40% of the world's marine cargo. Ship sinks, port gets bombed, canal gets blocked, the bill lands in London. This is why the UK punches above its weight, not the Royal Navy, not diplomacy, insurance. Control insurance, control trade. And London doesn't just control the 90% of global trade that moves by sea. Lloyd's and the London market are major insurers of almost everything: skyscrapers, factories, ports, satellites, entire supply chains. You can't participate in public markets or raise large amounts of capital without insurance. The normal playback for war risk is repricing, not cancellation. Canceling coverage entirely is a massive escalation in underwriting posture. It signals something beyond risk. It signals uncertainty so deep the underwriter can't even price it. That's the question everyone should be asking. Why? Why not just up premiums, jack up premiums, and make a fortune off the crisis like they did in the Black Sea off Ukraine? Well, you have to understand why London maintained a stranglehold on global insurance while losing nearly submarket related to ships. The answer is better intel. It's no coincidence that MI6 headquarters sits directly across from the Thames, the world's International Maritime Organization, the world's maritime regulator, and a short distance from Lloyd's itself. I have no proof of a direct pipeline, but it has long been speculated in the industry that intel flows from MI6 to Lloyd's. Having the best intel in the world would be the single greatest competitive advantage any insurer could possess, the ability to price risk that competitors can only guess at. The problem is the majority of MI6's intel doesn't come from its own agents. It comes from the Five Eyes: U.S., UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. And with it, the Five Eyes, the dominant partner is obvious. Our intel agencies, CIA, NSA. So if Lloyd's pricing advantage flows from MI6 and MI6's best intelligence flows from the U.S., what happens when the data pipeline gets throttled? Yeah, because Trump is none too happy with two-tier Keir Starmer right now. So this is him outlining a potential crisis. And not 24 hours later, Trump posting on Truth Social, effective immediately, I've ordered the United States Development Finance Corp to provide at very reasonable price political risk insurance and guarantees for the financial security of all maritime trade, especially energy traveling through the Gulf. This will be available to all shipping lines. If necessary, the United States will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz as soon as possible. No matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world. The United States' economic and military might is the greatest on earth. And, of course, thank you for your attention to this matter. Really a power play by Trump against the insurance dominance of the UK. Maybe this is a little bit esoteric, but it shouldn't be because it has huge implications. So that's where I wanted to start to get some expert insight on this and, of course, many other topics. K.T. McFarland joins us. She's the former first deputy national security advisor to President Trump and author of the bestseller Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. K.T., thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
What an excellent summary of why this is so important. Is the insurance industry drives global shipping. Global shipping drives energy shipping and manufacturing. So it's the key. And President Reagan understood similar crises during the Reagan administration with Gulf countries. And we then we reflagged and we escorted vessels through the region, and that stopped the Iranian Navy and anybody else from challenging us. So it's absolutely key. But the brilliance of President Trump's sort of four-dimensional chess is at the sequencing of it. So President Trump first step was to destroy the Iranian Navy. Now that's gone. And so the next step is to escort vessels, or reflag them or escort them through the straits. So that's the second step. We're going to guarantee the free flow of trade, which is oil, which is manufactured goods, which is raw materials, really from Asia to Europe. But it affects global prices. But that third dimension of this chess game is that it potentially unseats Britain as the world's financial capital of insurance, reinsurance, and takes that another business line for the United States.
It really is something, and you're right. You have to think through the sequencing. It's something I said over the weekend when of course, this campaign first started. Is Trump may be a bit impetuous rhetorically, but strategically he's a thinker. He's a planner, and I was thinking about it not with the sequencing you were just describing, but it fits the pattern. I was thinking about it with respect to, Abraham Accords, taking out Soleimani, what he was in process of doing in his first term, and then there was that little interregnum, and now he's picked it up in his second term of really reshaping the Middle East through alliances with erstwhile allies of convenience, but against the one central adversary in the region.
In the very first week of the first term, we sat in the White House Situation Room, and normally a new change of administration, you go through country by country, what do you want our policies to be, what changes to make, and we got to Saudi Arabia. And I made the case that, we've always done business with the older generation of the Saudis. They're terrorist compliant, but they've been with us in a lot of energy issues. But there was a generational leadership struggle going on. And Jared Kushner made the case, no, we should trust the younger guys. We should work with them. We should tip our hat to them because they want to open their societies. They want to open their economies. They understand they've got to diversify their economies away from just being oil exporting countries to being technology countries. And the younger generation of leaders who were in their 30s, as opposed to the old guys in their 80s, there was no middle generation. It was young guys or the old guys. That the young guys had all been educated in the West. They were comfortable with open societies. They understood how world markets worked, and those would be the people that we would back. President Trump made that strategic decision the first week of the first term. Therefore, the first foreign trip he took was to the Middle East to meet with those young leaders. Because of Trump's support for them, they were able to consolidate their power in country after country in the Gulf. As a result of that, we got the Abraham Accords. As a result of that, we got the Gaza peace plan with those countries underwriting the peace in the Middle East. And as a result of all that, now that we're attacking Iran is now isolated, has no friends in the Middle East, and those countries have now joined forces with the United States and Israel against Iran. That it would have been unheard of 5, 10, 15 years ago. But President Trump said it from the first week of the first term. It's been methodical, it's been strategic, and it has been sequential. And here we are today on the cusp of remaking that, not just with the world.
And so, and with respect to the regime in Tehran, such as it is, the reporting out now is that they're not so ideological that they won't engage in a little nepotism, and that Khamenei's son, Mojtaba, is going to be the successor. I mean, does it particularly matter at this point, especially if his shelf life is not too long? Does it matter who they're standing up as the front guy, with an idea that we're in the business of eliminating their capacities, eliminating the police state? Israel's sort of on that job right now, and we'll see what things look like when the dust settles in 4 or 5 weeks.
I can make a bad joke about who wants to issue him life insurance. But
yes, right. Yes, right. Yeah.
No, I mean, one of the methodical and strategic steps with regard to Iran is that Iran is now defenseless. Because of what the United States and Israel have done over the last year, it no longer has an air defense system. It can no longer shoot anything down. So we own the skies. So any drone attacks, any missile attacks, Iran just has to absorb them. It has no defense against them, no perimeter defense, no long-range defense. The only thing Iran has left militarily is a lot of missiles, and it can use those missiles in retaliation, which is what it's doing. And so as the United States works our way down the target list, the United States and now our other allies who have joined the fight work the way down the target list of what to destroy in Iran. It's not just the nuclear sites. It's not just the top tier of the military and civilian leadership and the Ayatollahs. It's also the production capacity of Iran to make missiles. It's where the missile depots are. It's where the launchers are. It's the command and control. We're working our way down that target list. And again, no opposition, only retaliation. And that means that we'll take hits in the sense of it will not be a cost-free operation. But at the end of the day, we win just because the Iranian people don't like their leaders. Iran is broke. Iran is isolated diplomatically. It's isolated militarily. It has never been as weak as it is now. And if we do not seize this moment to destroy Iran's nuclear weapons-making capability, then we'll have to live with potentially a nuclear Iran. As far as regime change and all that stuff, it's nice, noble goals, but that's not our purpose here. Our goal is to stop Iran's nuclear program and the people who are all hell-bent on having nuclear weapons.
And the sort of doing the threat assessment, is there a scenario that you can game out where you think this could go sideways on us over the next 4 or 5 weeks, or is the die pretty much cast and we're just obviously trying to focus on getting Americans out who are in harm's way and protecting soldiers who are putting themselves in harm's way as much as possible?
Okay, so the way this could go sideways is if Iran continues to has success with its missile program, whoever it's bombing, and it's bombing civilian sites as well as military sites. It's not having the effect of deterring countries from joining us. In fact, it's having the opposite effect. What could happen, though, is that we shoot missiles out of the air. We're trying to destroy their missile sites, their drone sites. We could, there's a limit to how much anti-missile, anti-drone capability we have. There's a supply problem. The other thing that goes sideways is maybe the Iranian people aren't up to governing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that may go sideways, IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is a whole lot different and more in our armed forces. It's their military plus their industrial complex. The military owns their industry of defense. It owns their intelligence industry. It owns 50% of their economy. So maybe those guys decide they're just going to keep fighting. But as long as the United States can continue to destroy and pound them, you've got to assume that with the intelligence that the Israelis and the United States have, the deep penetration Mossad has made into Iran's military intelligence and civilian leadership, that there's a plan there. They know who they're going to be able to work with in a regime government.
The munitions piece, that this has been raised as, well, we don't have the weaponry to go on forever. So that's another limitation in terms of concerns about being a quote unquote endless war. Trump responded to that yesterday as well, saying the United States munition supplies have, at the medium and upper medium grade, never been higher or better. We have a virtually unlimited supply of these weapons. At the highest end, we have a good supply, but are not where we want to be. Much additional high-grade weaponry is stored for us in outlying countries, and then he went on to criticize Sleepy Joe and giving weapons to Ukraine. But the point is, what is the assessment of munitions limitations we have? Is that a serious structural problem, or is it just a problem that we can solve over time?
Well, we don't have an endless supply, but they're not an endless supply of targets either. So it's now going to be play out the calendar. At what point does the IRGC start fracturing? What point do you start? And I think you'll start seeing this within a week. Is that units of the IRGC located in different parts of the country may just to accept Trump's amnesty? That's why President Trump, when he made the statement of what we were doing, people need to look at what he says very carefully, because he talked about amnesty. It's never talked about before. Bush never offered amnesty. Obama never offered amnesty in their military engagements. But President Trump said, lay down your weapons. Well, here are our goals. No nukes, no missiles, no proxies fighting against us or our allies in the region. You do that, you can lay down your goals, and then you can participate in Iranian politics and life going forward. He offered immunity. So I think what will start happening is, if you're someone in the IRGC and you've just seen all the other leaders be assassinated and killed and bombed and destroyed and vaporized, you have to think, well, am I in this for martyrdom, or do I want to survive this and somehow keep my position, my power, my money, my authority, and work with a new government that is going to abide by the American demands?
And how does China pivot here when there's, the amount of oil they buy from Iran is now erupted? How do they pivot in this sort of rapidly reshaping Middle East?
That's the second part of it, is that China. So China was buying almost all of Iran's oil at steeply discounted prices because it's sanctioned, buying 75% of Venezuela's oil, again, at steeply discounted prices, and almost all of Russia's oil and gas at, again, steeply discounted prices. So China's manufacturing has depended upon steeply discounted prices of energy that it has to import. China has no energy of its own. It has dirty coal, but no oil, no gas. So it needs to import, and it wants to import at a cheap price. So as President Trump said after the Venezuela operation, when asked, well, what about China? China gets a lot of its energy and oil from Venezuela. And he said, well, they can continue to do it, but they're going to have to pay market rates because America is going to be in charge of Venezuela's oil production and sales. So, so this is squeezing China big. It's China no longer has Venezuelan oil, potentially longer Iranian oil. Has this Russian oil, and Russia needs to continue to sell at discounted prices to keep paying for the Ukraine war. Look, the timing of this operation has been very carefully thought through and done. It is a risk, but it is a calculated risk, and it's potentially the price worth paying to remake the Middle East and to remake the world, especially in the future when you realize that quantum computing and artificial intelligence take exponentially more energy than we even have today.
What do you say to some of those ostensibly on the right or center right or somewhere not on the left? I mean, I'm not sure where these people are at this point, honestly. But what do you say to them when they say things? Well, Megyn Kelly's a good example. When she said the other day that the initial force service men and women who were killed in action, they didn't die for America. They died for Iran and Israel, and that's why we shouldn't be there. What do you say to that mentality?
I think that the Operation Epic Fury is both America First in its essence, and it is MAGA. America First, why? Because Iran has shown, especially now that it's trying to rebuild its nuclear sites that we destroyed just a few months ago, it is not going to negotiate away its nuclear weapons, and it is not going to stop at the quest for nuclear weapons. It's not going to stop their development of intercontinental ballistic missiles. In other words, making nuclear weapons, put them on a missile capable of destroying in the United States or blackmailing the United States. So Iran has to be, if your goal here, essential existential threat to the United States is nuclear attack. And Iran is hell-bent on getting nuclear weapons no matter what. You've got to stop that program, and you've got to stop that leadership in its tracks. So then the matter becomes of what time, when, how. And so America first, putting America's interests first. This is not necessarily about changing the regime in Iran or the human rights issue in Iran. Those are all goals. They're not addressing the existential threat to the United States. A nuclear Iran is an existential threat to the United States. Everybody got it. But the second part of it is MAGA, Make America Great Again. America is not going to be great in the future unless it dominates the world energy supply. China was well on its way with Russia, Iran, and Venezuelan oil. But the United States has now flipped that script, and the United States is now in a position of dominating. You know, when Trump talks not about energy independence, he talks about energy dominance, that we will dominate the world's energy supply.
KT McFarland, former first deputy national security advisor to President Trump, author of the bestseller Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. KT, thank you, as always, for allowing us to enjoy your font of wisdom. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, KT. And KT joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
We've all heard the news. The flu virus has mutated again, and the vaccine just isn't as effective as they hoped. It leaves you wondering, how do you stay safe? But you have a powerful, God-given immune system. But with all these viruses coming out right now, it needs a serious boost. I'm Dr. Michael Huber, introducing Virago. We have put together a powerhouse formula containing quercetin, fistin, resveratrol, and lactoferrin. We combine these specific nutraceuticals with 19 other nutrients because of their synergistic effect. They work together to supercharge your immune system, creating a defense that is stronger than any single ingredient alone. This is the boost your body needs to fight back. So take Virago and boost your immune system. Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail.
Order your bottle of Virago. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE. Virago and Maha. Making America healthy again.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel old. And if you can't raise your hand, that's sort of an answer too. Older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief, feeling younger, jumping back into life full speed. And it didn't happen in an operating room. I know this because I've met some of the patients. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics' medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon. Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea's back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. So the sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. Don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics' regenerative treatments and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation are free. Call now, 312-827-6261. That number, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results, done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com, and schedule your free in-home consultation today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:37, I'm going to talk to Missy Cummings, who's a professor and director of Robotics Center at George Mason University. We're going to talk about the Trump administration's contretemps with Anthropic and the larger discussion of AI governance that's burgeoning technology. Should be interesting. Get some perspective on that. Missy Cummings on Anthropic and AI at 7:37. I would check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 35 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Police were called to the Josephine C. Locke Elementary School in the Montclair neighborhood yesterday after a fight broke out during recess. The school's principal says staff intervened immediately and contacted the Chicago Police Department and the CPS Office of Safety and Security. Officials say the families of those involved were notified and support was provided. No additional details were immediately released. And police have charged a man for stealing a van with 8 dogs inside it. Police say 46-year-old Edwin Herrera is facing multiple counts, including possession of a stolen vehicle, as well as misdemeanor charges, which include animal cruelty. Officials say the theft happened yesterday after the van was stolen off the street in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. The van was found a short time later in an alley near the corner of Oakdale and Lakewood. All of the dogs were safe and have since been reunited with their owners. This report is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder reacts to Trump's State of the Union.
The whole point was to talk about his accomplishments, talk about how the economy is doing now, how it's going to be doing down the road, what the benefits will be of the big, beautiful bill, all of which he accomplished. And I'll tell you, I knew it was going to be long. I thought it was going to be too long, but I enjoyed every single minute of it.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Think your IT systems couldn't get any better? Prove it. Take the Access One $10,000 challenge. For companies with 25 to 500 employees, we'll conduct a free confidential risk assessment based on NIST or CIS regulations. If your systems and processes are 100% compliant and we can't find a single improvement opportunity based on the regulations, we'll write you a check for $10,000. For over 30 years, Access One has helped Chicagoland businesses strengthen cybersecurity, streamline IT operations, and reduce costs through managed IT and cloud solutions. Ready to take the challenge? Schedule your free confidential risk assessment. Visit accessoneInc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555. Certain terms and conditions apply. See details online.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
If you've saved $100,000 or more for retirement, call Steve Shyman today at 833-945-7283. That's 833-WILL-SAVE. 833-WILSAVE. Schedule your no-cost, no-obligation retirement review and make sure your plan is built to protect what you've worked so hard to earn. And don't forget to listen to Steve's show, Protecting Your Assets, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. right here on AM 560. Call now, 833-945-7283.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know you can't cook. You're not one of those people who say that they can, but when people come over for dinner, they find out the hard way, you can't. You can't even microwave popcorn, and that's literally just one button. Plus, measuring and patience are huge parts of cooking, and that's just not you. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Pricing coverage match limited by state law.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 17 in, 18 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, 33 in on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, 37 outbound, real slow between Lawrence Avenue and Harlem Avenue. You've got 34 minutes inbound on the Ike, 21 out from Wolf to the old post office. Jam-packed on the Stevenson inbound between Harlem Avenue and Western Avenue. It's 45 minutes from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 23, 28 inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 11. The express lanes slow down between 47th Street and the Stevenson. Jam-packed on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is sponsored by Chicago ENT. Don't wait. Chicago ENT offers same and next day appointments at 6 locations across the city. Sleep apnea, snoring, sinus issues, allergies, hearing loss. They've got you covered. Book now at chicagoent.com. That's chicagoent.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy with a high of 48. Tonight, expect periods of rain with a low of 40. Tomorrow will be cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm into the early afternoon, reaching a high of 45. On Friday, it will remain cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm as the temperature climbs to 68, approaching the record of 70 last reached in 2000. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, in the AI arms race, there are bound to be conflicts over the governance regime, over the uses. One certainly developed last week. I guess this has been a bit of a long simmering feud between the Trump administration and Anthropic and its CEO, Dario Amodei. Such that last week, the Trump administration banned the use of Anthropic across government agencies, and Hegseth and Bessent quickly follow a statement saying we're eliminating the use of Anthropic in our agencies. There was apparently a dispute over Anthropic's refusal to give the War Department carte blanche to use its technology as it sees fit. President Trump accused the CEO and his team, in his customarily subtle way, the left-wing nutjobs at Anthropic are trying to strong-arm the Department of War. And he called an Undersecretary of Defense called Dario Amodei a liar with a God complex who wants nothing more than to try to personally control the U.S. military and is okay putting our nation's safety at risk. So it's a little chippy, to say the least. And David Sachs, who's Trump's Bitcoin/AI czar, as it were, accused Amodei of trying to hamstring competitors and engaged in fear-mongering. Anthropic is running a sophisticated regulatory capture strategy based on fear-mongering. This was last year, he tweeted. It is principally responsible for the state regulatory frenzy that is damaging the startup ecosystem. So part of it is a disagreement over the AI governance model, where Amodei is seeking out regulation. So is Sam Altman at OpenAI. And that is not the posture of the David Sachses of the world and the all-in tech boys, as I understand it. Why don't we start there? That's a lot. Pleased to be joined again by Missy Cummings, who's a professor and director of Mason Autonomy and Robotics, the Mason Autonomy and Robotics Center at George Mason University. Missy Cummings, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So, distill this war of words between the Trump administration and Anthropic for us.
Well, I think it's first really important to understand that whatever generative AI system that we're talking about, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, they're just linear algebra on steroids. They don't think, they don't know, they don't understand, they don't reason, and they all make significant frequencies, high frequencies of mistakes. So Dario, the CEO of Anthropic, he is correct when he says you should not use these in lethal autonomous weapons. No one should use them in any weapon of any sort. But the problem with this is, this is a Chicken Little situation, the boy who cried wolf. Dario has been driving the hype. He has been the worst out of all the CEOs of running around the country and the world and telling people that his models were going to be sentient, soon to be sentient, that his models needed a constitution to protect their personhood. So he was running around stoking fear, trying to get people to believe that he was doing something amazing with these models. And then when somebody who is unsophisticated like Pete Hegseth comes along, of course he believes him, and now he thinks he should be using these technologies in the weapons.
Dario's, among other dire predictions, he's talking about his model instigating mass unemployment, right? That's one of the things that he's concerned about. And then this other thing about autonomous weapons and mass surveillance programs and so forth. So is that, well, first of all, I mean, there's sort of a separate policy question on the government side, whether they should be doing those sorts of things. And then, but there's the capacity question that I think you're getting to, which is interesting, is even if the Trump administration wanted to use Anthropic to those ends, is it any position to achieve those ends with Anthropic?
No, I mean, none of them. And Sam Altman was more than happy to step into the gap, but this is something that is being hidden from the public, is just how terrible they are in terms of reliability. Does it matter if you're going to create that report for internal to work? Probably not. But if you're going to do something like control weapons with this technology, they absolutely will not work. And so I find that the whole debacle over, them trying to be banned and the media outcry, this is all for a technology that doesn't actually really work.
That's interesting. And so the other disruptive event that occurred where Anthropic was central was in the markets when it was essentially there was a perception that Anthropic, that model in particular, was going to mean the end of very popular, very profitable software platforms like Salesforce. There's another prediction sort of the end of software through AI. Even while a lot of these software companies are enjoying record revenues, what about that aspect of it? I mean, is AI anywhere near where that is? There's going to be that kind of market disruption that was suggested when the market tanked over that indication.
No. The idea that agentic AI is coming and that they're going to be able to harness these models to somehow put everyone out of work that does anything to do with back office tasks, it is so not true that I'm actually thinking about starting a company called Cleanup Crew. So because if you're dumb enough to take these technologies, fire a bunch of people, you are going to have to hire somebody like me to come in and clean up that mess.
Really? So all of the autonomous robots. So I know we've talked about this before, but we're still in the same place because there's a lot of pronouncements in that direction too. You mentioned what Dario said. We also have Musk talking about Optimus robots being droids being online by year's end and selling ultimately in the millions or more. I mean, where is all of that in terms of reality?
Yeah, Musk needs to throttle back on the ketamine. It is not going to happen. It is not going to happen at the end of this year. It's not going to happen at the end of next year. We are nowhere near having humanoid robots be able to perform tasks in unstructured environments like your house, like in manufacturing facilities, beyond robots in cages, which is where we have robots now, for example, in automotive manufacturing lines. But the idea that you can talk to a robot and have it go pick up a set of bolts, for example, across the across the manufacturing floor, we're still very, very far from that.
You're a colleague of sorts at George Mason, Tyler Cohen, who's an economist. He wrote this about a model for AI governance. I want to get your reaction. He wrote, "I trust private companies with strong AI more than I trust the government, regardless of which administration is in power. Yet if the federal government feels it has no say or control, it will lunge and take over the whole thing. We thus want sustainable methods of perpetual interference that are, A, actually somewhat useful from a safety perspective, and B, give government some control and the feeling of control, but not too much control. You should judge AI-related events within that framework." Well, I mean, as much as I like Tyler Cohen, that's a little bit gooey in terms of a governance model. Give government some control and the feeling of control, but not too much control. What does that look like exactly? But your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, I don't strongly disagree with that, but I think what he's missing in this statement is an understanding that the U.S. government, under either the Biden administration previously or Trump administration now, they don't have enough people on the inside that actually understand AI technology. You know, they're making all their decisions based on what all the tech bros from Silicon Valley want them to believe because they want to increase their footprint for business. But the reality is these technologies don't work. And I recently wrote a paper and published it at the Premier NeurIPS conference that laid out all of the error modes that these things are having. We're not even close to a technology that's really even reliably enough to use to write letters. A human has to sit and watch every single output that these technologies produce because the propensity for mistakes is so high. And if you don't have people on staff who understand where these failure modes are, then, for example, like Pete Hegseth, he's got the worst possible set of advisors who let him go down that path for a technology that was never worth it in the first place.
So where we are right now is there are large language models and flawed large language models at that. We're maybe in like the stage 2, even just of the limited LLM function.
I mean, I think that they are useful for some purposes. I like to use them, for example, for image generation, so I don't have to worry about copyright violations, although it still, remains to be seen whether or not the copyright were violated in the creating of the large language model. So this is not to say that there's not some utility in these models, but all of them are highly error-prone. This is where you get 6 fingers in the images that they will often produce. We need a whole new employment sector of LLM babysitters, which are going to be humans. And this is actually akin to the self-driving car problem. It finally caught the public's attention a couple of weeks ago that, it turns out there are humans babysitting every single self-driving car. They're not actually really self-driving. So I think that is going to continue to be the modus operandi for AI for the foreseeable future. They're going to need significant human oversight, which means that indeed we're not actually replacing jobs. We're actually going to make them more expensive, the humans more expensive.
How much of an issue is the data center matter and power for these AI companies, particularly after Trump, in his State of the Union address, proposed requiring companies to build their own power plants rather than connect to the existing electric grid, so you're not driving up prices for consumers? Essentially, was the idea. But the need for these massive data centers and power sources to power these AI products.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a concern. I live in Washington, D.C. area. We have more data centers per capita than anywhere else in the country, and my utility bills are out of sight. And so there's definitely a revolution about to happen in Northern Virginia over these issues. And so they do need to think about this. But what I'm worried about is if companies are going to if they're going to be given the option to take the easy way out, they will. For example, they will just build more and bigger data centers if they think they can get away with it, as opposed to spending the research dollars to figure out how to optimize these processes so that they don't take so much power. Building more data centers is not the only solution here. There are more elegant ways to get the performance out of the LLMs that you want without having to use all the water in a particularly regional area. So I do think that the current administration is rewarding speed over thoughtfulness when it comes to data centers.
Misty Cummings is professor and director of the Mason Autonomy and Robotics Center at George Mason University. Professor Cummings, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
And she joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This is Don Tracy, Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Election day is on March 17th, and I'm asking you to vote now because the American dream is under attack in Illinois. My Democrat opponents have driven up the cost of living for all of us and made life more unaffordable. Working families need a strong leader who will champion common sense solutions over far-left extreme agendas. I'm Don Tracy, running for U.S. Senate to defend the American dream. Learn more at DonTracyForIL.com. This message is paid for by Don Tracy for Illinois NFP.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business and a customer of Signature Bank. We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Do you see yourself traveling, working part-time, or moving somewhere warmer when you retire? Hi, I'm Nolan Webster, your local Chicagoland Edward Jones financial advisor, and I want to help make your retirement goals a reality. Let's talk about where you are, where you want to be, and how we can get you there. Together, we can plan for the expected and make sure you're ready for the unexpected. Call me at 224-801-6107. That's 224-801-6107. Or visit edwardjones.com to get started today. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Aren't you curious how the Bible became translated into the English language? Calvary Baptist Church of Tinley Park invites you to a special public viewing of biblical antiquity, a remarkable collection presented by evangelist Monte Watts Jr. Explore over 400 rare Bibles and ancient texts and see firsthand how Scripture has been preserved and translated through the centuries. Join us March 15th through the 18th for our 2026 Revival and Bible Collection event. For details, visit CalvaryBaptistTinley.com. We look forward to welcoming you.
When you can no longer handle your own home, Hearthstone Assisted Living at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights is here to help make life easier. Experience upscale living with comprehensive health services. We offer fine dining, engaging activities, available chaplains, weekly worship services, and quality amenities including a bistro, expansive library, and general store. For a limited time, mention WYLL for an additional discount. Call 847-595-5024 or visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Stay together, please.
Who are these people, Ben?
This is my tour group. Everyone, this is Nicole.
Why are you giving tours?
I was inspired by the Whitley dining room table.
Are you talking about the Whitley?
And this is Arvid. Yes, I was just explaining that the Whitley dining room table reminds me of something you'd see in a museum.
The exquisite solid wood.
The beautiful finish.
The unique design.
Absolutely stunning.
Exactly. So I put some velvet ropes around it and started giving tours to see it.
But anyone can come see the Whitley table at any time.
Shh! These people paid $29.95 to go on this tour. Okay, folks, let's keep it moving. Next stop, the break room.
The Whitley dining table, American-made and tariff-free, starting at $30.97, and paired with Carry chairs, starting at $7.42 each. Only at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Looking for some hope? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. Weekday mornings, starting at 8. AM 560, The Answer.
Text from 847. At work, we treat AI as the world's smartest intern. Fast at research, but inexperienced. And that's interesting. Yeah, we're going to stick on this AI topic to try to keep everybody with at least a general handle on what's happening and separating hype and doomsaying from where we are at present. Anyway, all right, coming up at 8:08, we're going to talk to the Midwest Council General for Israel. And then at the bottom of the hour, we'll see if Jasmine Crockett, fake eyelash for Spice, has conceded yet. She claimed the election was stolen from her. David Drucker joins us, talk midterms at 8:38. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
An update from the Pentagon. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We can sustain this fight easily for as long as we need to.
War Secretary Pete Hegseth on day 5 of the operation against Iran.
As President Trump said, more and larger waves are coming. We are just getting started.
Adding they can't do anything in Iran to stop it.
The Iranian Air Force is no more.
And on top of that,
the Iranian Navy rests at the bottom of the Persian Gulf.
And Secretary Hegseth just said,
Iran's senior leaders are dead.
The rest, he says, are either missing or in hiding. Now, Iran has postponed the funeral for the Supreme Leader that was supposed to start tonight on state TV. Iran's Revolutionary Guard threatens the complete destruction of the region's military and economic infrastructure, targeting U.S. facilities in the region still. And Fox's Trey Yingst reports from Tel Aviv.
For the second time in 30 minutes, 2 barrages of missiles from Iran and Hezbollah were launched simultaneously at Israeli civilians, an indication that the Iranians are coordinating with their largest proxy in the region, specifically in southern Lebanon, to try and attack population centers here.
And Iran sent a missile toward Turkey that NATO defenses shot down. The State Department's urging Americans in 14 Middle East countries to leave, but some can't. Their flights keep getting canceled, like Louise Hurley, who's stuck in Dubai and tells Fox.
I heard many fighter jets, kind of going by the hotel. It was a lot of activity around midnight, 1 a.m. So there's just a lot of heightened concern with that happening.
6 U.S. troops have been killed in the conflict. The battle for a Senate seat in Texas is half set. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett just conceded, and on X posted a congratulations to James Tallarico, beat her in the Democratic primary.
Tens of thousands of Texans have shown up to rally with us in every corner of the state.
He wants Republican Senator John Cornyn's seat. Cornyn faces a runoff first in May against Texas Attorney General James Paxton. Neither got 50% in the GOP primary. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 37 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Governor J.B. Pritzker says he was never on a plane with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Jim Talamonte reports.
During a U.S. House Oversight Committee hearing last Friday, former President Bill Clinton was asked who he normally brought on Epstein-connected flights.
It was on one of these trips, I think, that I had my first trip for the man who's now the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, and his wife.
Governor Pritzker spoke in Chicago on Tuesday and said the former president was mistaken.
I had never met Jeffrey Epstein. I was never on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. I was never on any plane with Jeffrey Epstein.
A former Clinton staffer posted a social media clarification of the former president's testimony, saying Pritzker did not travel with Epstein or Maxwell when he joined a Clinton Foundation trip in 2008. I'm Jim Talamonte.
A suspect accused of shooting at police on Chicago's South Side remains in custody. Police say they believe the alleged offender may be linked to 3 separate drive-by shootings, one of which was fatal. Authorities say the suspect crashed into 2 parked cars after firing at police. There were no injuries, and the officers did not return fire. One person has died and another hospitalized following an accident last night on the Kennedy Expressway. According to reports, 5 cars were involved in that accident at Natoma Avenue. 3 cars went off the roadway. They were engulfed in flames. The expressway was closed for several hours while police cleared the scene. This report is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Prof University and The Sean Thompson Show, when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but it's time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Crude oil prices have been rising since Saturday, though the Wall Street Journal says American frackers are not rushing to pump more oil. Analysts say it makes little sense to the oil industry in West Texas to add expensive rigs and boost production when the war could be short-lived and crude prices could drop. Starbucks is opening a Nashville office and will relocate some supply chain operations. The company says Seattle remains its North American and global headquarters, though it plans to open the new Nashville office later this year as part of its effort to expand in the U.S. Volvo Car is stepping up production of its new electric SUV, the EV60, because of strong demand, though not in the U.S., where it can't be ordered until later this spring. European buyers are ordering the car. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Posola. Invested in you.
Mike Gallagher explains his thoughts on the Iran bombings.
Look, overwhelming support of this administration's decision to join Israel in wiping out the Ayatollah and over 40 members of the Iranian leadership. We're in a spiritual war. This is about good versus evil.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel old, older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief. And it didn't happen in an operating room. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon. Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea's back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. So don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments, and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation free. Call now, 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Mike Rowe. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Bakery owners, you will be loved today. Every pastry will be flaky. Your cake will make a child's day. Your delivery van won't get sideswiped by a distracted garbage truck driver. But if so, breathe easy, knowing you'll get back to business quickly with Progressive protecting your commercial auto. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 18 in on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound is 26. 47 inbound on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. 44 on the reverse side. The express lanes inbound. Slow down from Montrose to Ohio Street. The Jane Addams is jammed eastbound as you head towards the Ike. And 47 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 30. 52 inbound on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 31. 33 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange, and you've got delays on both the inbound Bishop Ford and I-57 as you head towards the Dan Ryan, a jam-packed northbound Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special member-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy with a high of 48. Tonight, expect periods of rain with a low of 40. Tomorrow will be cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm into the early afternoon, reaching a high of 45. On Friday, it will remain cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, with the temperature climbing to 68, approaching the record of 70 last reached in 2000. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, given all of the partisan histrionics from congressional neo-Marxists, it was good to see the CENTCOM commander, Brad Cooper, post a video explaining where operations are as of yesterday when he posted the video, what has been accomplished, and also, importantly, what is the threat assessment with respect to Iran's retaliatory strikes. Let's just focus in on that for a second. Here's what Commander Cooper had to say.
Now, in retaliation, the Iranian regime has launched over 500 ballistic missiles and over 2,000 drones. To be clear, Iran is indiscriminately targeting civilians as they launch these missiles and drones. You've seen it on TV. The evidence is crystal clear and overwhelming. Having said this, we are seeing Iran's ability to hit us and our partners is declining, while our combat power, on the other hand, is building. And my overall operational assessment is that we are ahead of our game plan. Along the way, every single branch of our military is achieving unprecedented success. I'll talk about just a few of them. Our naval forces have deployed multiple waves of cruise missiles, obliterating Iranian command and control and air defense capabilities. From 2 aircraft carrier strike groups, we're squeezing Iran from the sea and have them backed into their own ports. U.S. air forces are doing what they do best, executing a high volume of airstrikes right into Iran. Operationally, the 2 most powerful air forces in the world, the U.S. and Israel, are dominating the skies of the world's largest state sponsor of terror. Our U.S. Army soldiers are defending ourselves and our partners, and in a historic first, the U.S. Army fired long-range precision strike missiles called PrSMs in combat, providing an unrivaled deep strike capability. Also for the first time, U.S. Central Command's drone task force, called Task Force Scorpion Strike, launched countless one-way attack drones, achieving massive effects. I'd like to point out these drones were originally an Iranian design. We took them back to America, made them better, and fired them right back at Iran. I just could not be prouder of our men and women in uniform, leveraging innovation to create dilemmas for the enemy.
Okay, all early reports over the last several days have been pretty encouraging, not to say that you don't have several rolling perils, and not, of course, to minimize the loss of life that has occurred among both our soldiers and the innocent. All of that's included in the larger discussion. But in terms of the stated objective and where things stand, pretty encouraging report from Commander Cooper. Let's get perspective from our partner in this operation. That would be the State of Israel. Elad Strohmeyer is the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest. He joins us now. Elad, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning.
So your reaction to what Commander Cooper had to say and your own sort of operational assessment from the Israelis' perspective?
I listened to what he had to say, and I couldn't agree more. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of the troops, the brave troops that are fighting this operation, and the great collaboration between Israel and the United States. We're standing together against tyranny and against dark forces that destabilize the entire world. We need to remember that for decades, the Iranian regime has been a sworn enemy of both the United States and Israel. He has killed and maimed thousands of American citizens and service members, either directly through its own force or their proxies. They're chanting death to America, death to Israel. They continue developing nuclear weapons and laundering ballistic missiles capabilities. By the way, missiles that can reach to the United States. This is what we're doing right now. We're eliminating this threat to the United States, to Israel, to the Middle East, and to the entire world. And I couldn't be proud that we're doing this together. It shows a lot about our allyship.
And there's been much debate, as I'm sure you know, about exactly the objective and where the lines are, where we want it to prevent nuclear weaponization. We want to take out their ballistic missile sites. But regime change and regime change would be nice, but that's not a stated part of the mission. Is that the same perspective that Israel holds?
Yeah, we have exactly the same goals as the United States. We need to understand that the timing and why now and the importance of it. The regime just began installing its military nuclear facilities and the ballistic missiles production deep underground in order to prevent the ability to neutralize them in the future. So it was essential and urgent to act now so we can neutralize these imminent threats before they could complete their scheme, and then they would have gotten immunity for their nuclear program, for the ballistic missiles capability. They're still continuing to support their proxies around the Middle East and around the world. Since the last ceasefire, Iran gave $1.2 billion to Hezbollah. I'm repeating that. This is astonishing. $1.2 billion to Hezbollah. And money comes from Iran, which is a country that is struggling instead of taking care of their people. So they're continuing with all their efforts, and we need to neutralize these threats so that they can no longer support the proxies, no longer can have nuclear program or ballistic missiles program. And because they're starting to put it underground, it became time sensitive to do it when we speak. You mentioned regime change, so we need to be clear. Our goal is to create the conditions for which the Iranian people will be able to take their future into their own hands, and they need to free themselves from this murderous regime that really oppressed and butchered them for 47 years.
There's been an effort to foment some discord between Israel and the United States, getting into parsing of words in terms of whether the United States moved first and Israel moved, or Israel prompted the United States to move. President Trump addressed that yesterday, basically saying, I was not instigated to move because what Israel was doing, we're basically aligned, which is the same thing that Rubio has said. But I just wanted to give you a chance to comment as well, just in terms of providing whatever you can in terms of color on the sequencing of the launch of these strikes between the two countries.
Of course. So, like I said, this is unprecedented collaboration between Israel and the United States. We've been very, very close partners over decades, of course, but right now what we've seen, I don't remember anything like it. We assessed the situation on the ground. We came to a similar conclusion and came to an understanding of what needs to be done. We need to remember that the president and the administration have engaged in good faith negotiation with Iran, but Iran showed a hard line all the time, refusing to any compromise offered by the administration. And this is how we came to the conclusion together that an action needs to be taken. And like I said, the timing was because of what they've tried to achieve with putting their programs, both nuclear and ballistic missiles, underground. So we're in this together. We started this together, and I think anyone who's trying to imply otherwise, it's disrespectful to the president, I must say. It's disrespectful to the nature of our relationship. Nobody's pushing anyone else. We're working together to change the Middle East and to change the world, and I think we're in a breakthrough of historic changes.
So to that end, the reporting on this, the initial strikes over the weekend that took out the supreme leader and 40 some odd senior mullahs, part of his regime. The reporting on that was this was a combination of U.S. intel agencies and Israeli intel agencies, and both parties moved up the strike to the daytime because there was this opportunity to take out in one fell swoop what was initially conceived could take weeks. Is that reporting accurate about the collaboration on that particular and seminal strike over the weekend?
I don't want to go into details of each operational strike that we've done for obvious reasons. I will just say this, that throughout the entire operation, we're on day 5 right now, we've been very, very close. Did what? It's remarkable that together we have achieved in the first 40 seconds of this war to take down the leadership and 40 top people in this regime. It's more than we could imagine, and this is what we mean when we say that we're even ahead of ourselves with the goals that we have set forth. And we need to continue. We need to continue strong because we cannot leave the job half done. We need to finish the job and eliminate this threat to the United States, to Israel, and to the entire world.
The perception and the hope is that what's happening with Iran's retaliatory strikes against Gulf Coast states is that it's drawing the Abraham Accords countries even closer to Israel and America and the West. Is that your perception that Iran is further isolating itself, and the bonds of alliance are strengthening between the Arab states, Israel, the United States through this process?
I will take it further than that. Ever since October 7th, there were talks like how will the Abraham Accords will continue, and will we see changes in the relationship with Israel with its neighbors? And even though we had hurdles and we had struggles and we had challenges and criticism thrown at us, the relationship remained strong throughout the past 2.5 years since October 7th. And I think right now Iran made a grave mistake. They underestimated the resolvedness of the United States, the resolvedness of Israel, and it's stupid to attack the Gulf countries because they see very clearly who's the enemy right now, who's the destabilizing force in the Middle East, and that's Iran. And I believe, and I said it earlier, that we're on a verge of a historical breakthrough. I believe that if and when we eliminate this threat, then change can happen in the Middle East. We'll see more ties between Israel and our neighbors, and more normalization. The president and the prime minister mentioned Saudi Arabia. I think something will be possible only after the Iranian threat will be eliminated, and everybody's looking at it right now. So everybody understand who's the problem in the Middle East. That's not Israel. That's Iran.
And what is it that, from the Israelis' perspective, what is it that concerns you about about Iran's retaliation? Obviously, they've targeted civilian installations. They've killed Israeli civilians already. What concerns you in terms of trying to protect your countrymen with respect to the response from Iran?
Iran is a terrorist, murderous regime, while Israel and the United States target military targets, and we take down military infrastructure and military leadership and political leadership with connection to the military and the Revolutionary Guards. Iran, on purpose, targets civilian infrastructure and civilian targets in Israel and in the Gulf countries, by the way. They're attacking in the Gulf countries not only U.S. targets, they attack also residential buildings, airports, energy facilities. That's what they're doing in Israel and in the Gulf countries. And this is exactly the difference between us and them. I can tell you my family is in Israel and I talk to them daily. They're in the shelters. They're tired. They're worried. They're concerned. But their spirit is high and lifted, and we're resilient, and we are, because we understand that this is a struggle that we're going through now, because that's the only way to bring about change. we are definitely able to protect ourselves thanks to our aerial defense systems that, of course, we're developing in collaboration with the United States. And that really takes down a lot of the hits that could have happened if we did not have this aerial defense system. Of course, we still get hit, and we had more than 10 Israelis that were killed, and it's heartbreaking and devastating, but we're strong. And we will defend our people. And we call everyone in Israel to follow the guidelines when they hear sirens, to go to the shelters, because that saves life. I want to also take this opportunity to express my condolences to the American people for the loss of the American servicemen, heroes fighting for democracy, fighting for freedom, fighting to protect your country.
And I appreciate that. And while the reality on the ground will dictate the response, I understand. Is Israel essentially on the same time horizon as President Trump outlined over the weekend, a 4 to 5 week campaign?
I don't want to give numbers exactly of how long will be this campaign, but we need perseverance because it will require time and perseverance in order to go through that. We hope that it will be swift and decisive, and this is why we're working right now aggressively with full force against all the targets. I can tell you again, without disclosing any operational numbers or information, is that everything is going according to plan. We had an operational program and goals, and we're moving forward, and every target that we want is being eliminated, and everything goes according to plan. So we need to show resilience and perseverance to make sure that we're going to finish the job.
And, it's in some of the surveying that's been out. American people overwhelmingly support the strikes against Iran, so long as, it is a month campaign. If you start to survey and extend the duration of the campaign, support starts to dwindle because, of course, the experience with wars that lasted decades, the recent experience that didn't really produce any discernible victory for America. I wonder if that's the same sort of perspective with the Israeli people. They're certainly supportive, but they're impatient.
In Israel, we've been through this for the past 2.5 years. And we are, on one side, we are tired, but on one side, we're strong because we understand that it has to be done to eliminate this existential threat on us. Israelis are under constant threat of rockets. Israelis are afraid that their house will be infiltrated by terrorists. October 7th was an Iranian plot. It was an Iranian plot to eradicate Israel. So yes, Hamas pulled the trigger without coordination and a bit earlier than Iran planned. But according to intel that we got while operating in Gaza, it was part of a bigger Iranian mastermind plan. So Israelis, while we're weary and tired, we understand that we have to do that, and no matter how long it takes, to eliminate this threat. And I believe and I'm hopeful that we will be able to do so. And everybody's talking about endless wars. This is not an endless war. This is an operation in order to stop war and bring about the change in the Middle East and globally.
Elad Strohmeyer, Consul General of Israel in the Midwest, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody.
And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the Morning Show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150.
Are you confident your IT systems are rock solid? There could be cracks you don't see. Don't leave your technology to chance. Take the Access One $10,000 challenge to find out. For more than 3 decades, Access One has helped businesses strengthen their security, protect their data, and improve resistance to cyber vulnerabilities, all with reliable U.S.-based support. And here's their promise. If their experts can't identify at least one measurable improvement to your IT systems and processes based on NIST or CIS regulations, they will reward your compliance excellence with $10,000. This free confidential risk assessment is available to businesses with 25 to 500 employees, and it's a great way to verify your IT is secure and efficient. No gimmicks, just proven results from an experienced IT partner. Are you ready to put Access One to the test? Chop, chop. Visit accessoneinc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555 to schedule your risk assessment today. Again, that's accessoneinc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555. Certain conditions apply. See details online.
Well, the experts did their best with this season's flu vaccine, but the virus mutated and the vaccine could not keep up. But here is the truth. The most powerful defense against viruses isn't something man-made. It is the God-given immune system that you were born with. And the best immune system booster that I, Scott Jennings, know of is Virago. Virago. It is a liquid immune enhancement supplement featuring 23 potent nutraceuticals working synergistically to enhance your immune system against assaults. Trust the design that God gave you and strengthen your body's immune system with Virago, the ultimate immune enhancement cocktail. Order it online today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirogo.com. Use coupon code Jennings to save 30%. Myvirago.com. Coupon code Jennings saves you 30%.
John was an active man. He'd go for runs, walk the golf course, and always take the stairs instead of the elevator. But then bone-on-bone knee pain got in the way and affected his mobility. It became too painful to even go for walks. And when it seemed like John's only option was knee replacement surgery, a friend told him about the Joint Relief Institute and their affordable, non-surgical knee pain relief. John met with the Joint Relief Institute and discovered their lubricating gel treatment could rejuvenate his lost cartilage. Safe, effective, no surgery. Long story short, John is now back to being active without pain or medication.
There is an alternative to knee replacement surgery. Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
AM 560, The Answer.
By the way, just a point of order. Again, something that Tucker Carlson alleged that turned out not to be true. I don't, just so far afield on these issues. He alleged that Mossad agents were caught in Qatar and Saudi Arabia planting bombs. And in point of fact, the Qataris said, no, actually it was 2 IRGC cells, Iranian Revolutionary Guard, as reported by the BBC.
Qatari authorities say that they've arrested 2 cells affiliated with the Iranian Revolutionary Guards in the country. So they're saying, that's according to the state news agency, that they've arrested 2 cells affiliated with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in their country. So a bit of development there from Qatar. The defense minister of Qatar, of Qatar, also has said that Iran launched 2 missiles towards its territory, with one targeting the U.S.-run Al Udeid Air Base, but there were no reported human losses. So as we've been discussing throughout the program, things are really rapidly escalating in the Gulf states as well. And Qatar has just said...
Yeah, and the BBC is no Israeli sympathizer. I don't know, it's just like, it's so reckless to make those sorts of claims that are so easily disproven. But I suppose it will continue for some reason. Difficult to explain Tucker, some of what Tucker has been doing for the last year and a half, and saying. David Drucker joins us at 8:38, senior writer for the Dispatch. Talk about those election results in Texas and what they portend for the midterms. That's 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 38 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Governor J.B. Pritzker said on Tuesday that he is not concerned about delayed legislative action tied to a possible Chicago Bears stadium project. Lawmakers won't return to Springfield for another 2 weeks, postponing the debate on infrastructure funding for the team's Arlington Heights site. The Bears are weighing a move from Soldier Field to Arlington Heights or a proposed site in Hammond, Indiana. Alderman Ray Lopez has introduced a proposal aimed at curbing teen takeovers by holding parents accountable. That measure would impose penalties including up to $1,000 in fines, community service, and mandatory counseling if a minor commits a crime during one of the gatherings. The ordinance did not advance out of committee yesterday on a 10-5 vote, but Lopez says he plans to bring back a revised version. A separate curfew expansion proposal is also under consideration by the council. This news is a service of Steiner Homes. Building homes is more than a business, it's a calling. Family owned and dedicated to building custom homes with care, integrity, and craftsmanship that you can trust. Visit SteinerHomesLTD.com. That's SteinerHomesLTD.com. Northwest Indiana's leading home builder, Steiner Homes. Love where you live. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Catch more money with leading economist Steve Moore.
I'm excited about America. I think things are going really well. I think we've turned a corner here. I think Biden economics is well behind us now. This is a miracle what's going on here. If anything, it's better than I thought it would be. So many good things can happen in the economy. Low inflation, low unemployment rate, consumer confidence up, business confidence up. All of the indicators are pointing north right now.
It's More Money, Saturday at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities.
Opponents of this law are preying upon fear of change to lie and fearmonger.
JB and BJ are the liars and the fearmongers. They are the sickness that is killing Illinois and Illinoisans. They give sanctuary to foreign predators and sanction to domestic repeat offenders while vilifying the police. A Cook County study found 74% of criminal defendants failed to show up to court after being released under Pritzker's Safety Act. Listen to this suburban police chief.
I don't call it the Safety Act. I call it the Unsafety Act because that's what it is. I'm still waiting for somebody to explain to me where does safety come in. Who are we keeping safe here when you call it the Safety Act?
Not you. I will repeal Pritzker's purge law and end JB and BJ's killing spree before it hits you. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Bakery owners, you will be loved today. Every pastry will be flaky. Your cake will make a child's day. Your delivery van won't get sideswiped by a distracted garbage truck driver. But if so, breathe easy, knowing you'll get back to business quickly with Progressive protecting your commercial auto. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 15 in, 23 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy is 43 in, 41 out from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. The express lanes jammed inbound from Montrose to Ohio Street. You've got 45 minutes inbound on the Ike from Wolf to the O Post Office, 24 on the reverse side. The Stevenson is 26 in, 29 out from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. The Dan Ryan is 37 minutes inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 12. well. The express lanes hitting those brakes between Garfield Boulevard and the Stevenson, and watch out for a crash on Route 53 northbound on the exit ramp to Rand Road. The northbound side of Lakeshore Drive, stop-and-go delays between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is a service of Aleve. Life doesn't wait, and neither should you. Aleve can help you deal with pain less throughout your day with just one pill. Aleve lasts up to 12 hours. Don't let those aches and pains hold you back from doing what's important to you. Use as directed. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be mostly cloudy with a high of 48. Tonight, expect periods of rain with a low of 40. Tomorrow will be cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm into the early afternoon, reaching a high of 45. On Friday, it will remain cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm as the temperature climbs to 68, approaching the record of 70 last reached in 2000. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Well, what to make of the election results in Texas yesterday? On the Republican side, Cornyn and Paxton go to a runoff for the nomination for Senate to face God is non-binary James Tallarico, who bested fake eyelash spice Jasmine Crockett. We won't have Jasmine Crockett to kick around anymore. Can't wait to see what NGO she lands at. Crockett, yesterday, when I guess voting in Dallas County was extended by 2 hours, she called for resilience as these low-down, dirty Republicans were afoot with nefarious intentions trying to steal the election from Jasmine Crockett, even though, point of fact, reality, probably would rather have Jasmine Crockett be the nominee.
All Red has already stated, we encourage each and every one of you to remain resilient. We cannot allow this type of behavior to be rewarded, because so long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, then they will continue to do it. So I am asking you, I am begging you to make sure that you go ahead and figure out where it is that you are supposed to vote. Stand in line, wait in line.
Who's the they? You know, the they that are cheating. Never got that. But despite Tallarico extending it on her after the 2 extra hours of voting in Dallas County, she wouldn't concede last night.
So that's my news, is that we're not going to have election results tonight, in my opinion, based upon what specifically is taking place in Dallas County. Unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do. And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why. So,
no, tell us.
I want you to enjoy yourselves, but I won't be back tonight because I have no idea of when we're going to get results, and I fully anticipate it won't be until tomorrow. So, I love y'all too.
I love you. I love you. Yay, 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 yay. All right, she gone. Those are the results. For more on the results in Texas, including some congressional races, some upsets both on the Republican and Democrat side, please be joined by David Drucker, that is, senior writer for The Dispatch and author of In Trump's Shadow, The Battle for 2024 and the Future of the GOP. David, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be here.
So, you know, the Crockett-Tallarico contest, what's your analysis there? I mean, it's Crockett has, you know, is a magnet for cable news generated attention, but at the end of the day, boy, I guess that electorate is just even on their side is a little bit more conservative than it might be in some other places. They just couldn't stomach Crockett. They maybe had an eye towards a desire to win in the general.
Yeah, I think electability definitely had something to do with it. Tallarico's rhetoric and the way he talks about certain hot-button political issues is quite progressive, but stylistically, he has what I might say centrist vibes, right? Because he doesn't, he puts everything sort of in the vein of his religious background and his faith and his Christian faith and studying at the seminary to become a pastor. And I think that's something that's very familiar and reassuring to a lot of people. And he doesn't go on the attack, right? So he will disagree in a very civil way, in a very sharp way, but a very civil way. And look, Jasmine Crockett, she's an attacker. I mean, that's just what she does. She's very aggressive. What we know is that Tallarico did very well in this, and that's still how I would characterize it in a year that is shaping up to be very good for Democrats nationwide. You go with the candidate that is going to have broader appeal and actually try and persuade. Crockett was very candid in her approach. About her approach was that persuasion is a waste of time, and I'm going to create new voters. I've been doing this for 20 plus years. You may increase turnout or expand your coalition, but there's no magic beans in politics. You've got to persuade, and you've got to be a good fit for where the electorate is at any given time, and she just wasn't doing that.
Yeah, and on the other side with Cornyn and Paxton, I mean, it's interesting because, of course, there was a third candidate, Congressman Wesley Hunt, who might have been the most attractive candidate, certainly from my perspective. But the combination of Hunt and Paxton, if this is a referendum on the incumbent Cornyn, it seems to put Paxton in a pretty good position to win in the May runoff. What's your handicapping of that and the prospects for that to be a competitive race, depending on whether it's Paxton or Cornyn?
Yeah. I look at this in a couple of different ways. Like, first of all, if you're John Cornyn and you're pushed into a runoff in the first competitive race for Senate really you've ever had, except maybe your first one, and I'm talking, for the nomination, not even for the general election, it's a problem, right? I mean, that he's in a runoff with the most, and I mean this, the most scandal-plagued politician I may have ever covered in 20 plus years of doing this. That means that you're very vulnerable and you could lose, to say the least. Second of all, incumbents often fail in runoffs, right? Even if you head into the runoff in the lead, it's usually a bad sign. The turnout in a runoff is usually smaller and more committed, more base-oriented. And so Cornyn really has his work cut out for him. Now, having gotten that out of the way, I will say that the fact that he finished, even or slightly ahead when all the numbers are counted with Paxton, is a sign that, if somebody's going to pull off the impossible, in part based on the ethical cloud hanging over his opponent and the fact that, he's got more resources, Cornyn isn't dead yet. What people on the Cornyn side were worried about, and I was in Texas in January reporting on this race, was that he might, get in they were confident he would reach the runoff, but they were really concerned, about what happens if he's losing to Paxton by 5 points or more rather than 5 points or less. That he may have even won round one, notwithstanding the vulnerabilities for Cornyn that I just laid out, means to me, based on my reporting, that the money and the resources are going to continue to flow into Cornyn because there's a deep concern among many Republicans that only one Republican could lose this Senate race, and it's Ken Paxton, Ken
Paxton, yeah.
And so this means the money will keep coming. And it also means that Republicans who want Cornyn to win at least have a credible case to make to President Donald Trump to endorse Cornyn on pragmatic grounds. And that's something that I know the Cornyn team or his supporters will be working on.
Well, I assume you're going to see a poll, assuming my premise is right, polling out from Cornyn pretty soon that shows the matchup in the general, Cornyn versus Tallarico versus Paxton versus Tallarico. And if there is a pretty wide margin in favor of Cornyn, then that's the thing that he's going to beat, because he's just been he's been so milquetoast on too many issues, I think, for conservatives to otherwise be excited about him.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's part of Cornyn's problem, is that he's been in office a long time, and being in office a long time is often these days out of fashion for Republican primary voters. It's also the case that when Cornyn was first elected, and for many years, and I mean going back to when he was elected Texas Attorney General in 1998, if I got my year correct, he was a perfect match for the Republican primary voter of the day. Their sensibilities were simpatico. The way he conducted himself is what they wanted from him. And a lot of that has changed. Trump's had a lot to do with that. Republican primary voters really want somebody who is very outwardly aggressive.
Yeah.
And they're not that much interested in compromise. It was really interesting. I was talking to one Republican primary voter in San Antonio in January, and he told me that, I only see Cornyn when it's time for him to run for re-election, and otherwise I don't hear from him. And part of that is the old school, Cornyn's from this old school of, I'm going to be a workforce and do my job. And then when it's time to run for re-election, I'm going to go tell everybody what I did. And what Republican primary voters really expect a lot more now is for you to be ubiquitous on social media and on cable television news, constantly talking about who you're fighting against, who you're fighting for. And they want to see that, right? They want a bit of a show horse. And they're a little bit less interested in legislative deliverables and more interested in just what bad things did you block?
Yeah.
And that's just where, Cornyn is who he's always been, and Republicans used to really like it. And you have a different kind of Republican primary voter now, and they don't like it as much.
Well, also in Texas, Dan Crenshaw loses going away in a primary, the one Republican incumbent that Trump did not endorse. And then on the other side, Al Green looks like he's going to lose, despite his. So we're going to miss his State of the Union antics for the next year at minimum, if that indeed comes to pass. What does that say on both sides? I mean, again, Al Green is, I would call him, very race oriented, to be quite generous about it, and very much of the Jasmine Crockett sort of approach. And I don't know much about the guy that's that is poised to beat him. And then Crenshaw loses in the primary to a conservative state legislator who got endorsed by Ted Cruz late. So, I mean, what does that say about, again, where the two parties are going, sort of once you get beyond the statewide electeds?
Right. So this might be a little bit more nuanced. I haven't dug into the numbers yet with Al Green, but Democrats are really hungry for fresh leadership, fresh faces.
Yeah.
We saw that with the Republican Party in particular during the Obama presidency and the rise of the Tea Party, and Trump, who was a known figure but being a fresh face in the party as a leader. So we've seen Republicans go through this, and there's a lot of this now on the Democratic side. With Crenshaw, there were some issues with Republican voters who, did not think he was sufficiently pro-Trump. But I'd say that there might be a lot more going on here that is a very good lesson that incumbents periodically fail to learn, which is you have to spend time in your district, particularly if you're a House member. But if you're in elective office, whatever the office is, you have to be on the ground, touching voters, asking them what they need, and talking to them about their concerns. And so on the one hand, Crenshaw had a little bit of a challenge because his district, as a part of that mid-decade redistricting, was redrawn. And so it was a slightly new, I'd say a little bit more than a slightly new district for him. And who got legislated into that district? It was still a very red district, but Mr. Toth, the congressman-elect now, once he gets past this primary season. And so Crenshaw had that going on for him. But, as I've been reading and talking to people, he wasn't spending enough time at home in the district. And I think this is the sort of thing you can weather, but people have to feel like you're always there for them. They see you, they touch you. And it's possible that Dan Crenshaw did not do enough of that. And every 2 years, there's some congressional primary where somebody loses. And, at first it seems like it's a part of this big national trend on the Republican side. Oh, you weren't, loyal enough to Trump or something or other. And then it turns out that people just thought you went Washington or weren't there. And this other guy was there campaigning and he was the change candidate. And that's what happens.
Just looking at the generic ballot at present, the different surveys, there's some variance, but clearly it favors, or at least it did before this past weekend, Democrats, and particularly with respect to the House. That's not any surprise. But, I wonder where you think the state of play is and how something like success in the Middle East, if this continues to go according to plan and on a expedited timeline like the president outlined, combined with some of the advertised benefits coming with full implementation of the Big Beautiful Bill, if that provides any path for Republicans in swing districts where Trump is not popular to get out from underneath him.
It's a good question, and it's hard to predict, right? And I don't like to get over-predictive. Here's what I would say. I just pulled up the Real Clear Politics average for the generic vote, and it's at 4.4%, Democrats in the lead, 47.2 to 42.8. And so this is shaping up as a very good, though not necessarily blow the doors off, Democratic cycle. Democrats are likely to win the House regardless because the margin, the Republican majority is so thin. Right, it rests on about a handful of seats, maybe less, and they're in a really tough spot. I still think Republicans are likely, if the election were held today, to hold the Senate, even though North Carolina is vulnerable, Maine is vulnerable, and I'm leaning hold with Georgia and Michigan for the Democrats. And so then you want to take a look at this war with Iran. Nothing is guaranteed in war, first of all. The president has been all over the place in terms of justification for the war. He didn't lay out for months in advance or even weeks in advance a justification so that he could get buy-in. And I'm not suggesting it's not justified. That's not my point here, because I actually think there's a strong case to make for it. I'm just saying the president did not bring the public along. He didn't bring Congress along. He didn't bring the international community along. I'm not interested in whether they agree, but what this does is sort of create a sort of environment where everybody understands what the president's doing, why he's doing it. Much easier than to get buy-in. It's also much easier for people to give the president leeway if, as often happens in war, things don't go according to plan. This isn't one of Trump's usual and very successful one-and-done Venezuela, Qasem Soleimani, hitting ISIS, things like that. This is, and he's been somewhat candid about this, this is a war. We're going to lose soldiers. We already are losing soldiers. It could last for weeks on end. It's annoying elements of the president's coalition, even though the majority of the coalition is on board. And so I don't know if there's any political benefit to this, even if it goes well. As far as the economy, people are going to have to feel it. The implementation of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act isn't necessarily going to hurt at all, and it may help. But it's got to, what people are concerned about is this idea that I can afford to live at least without pressure. And if that bill or anything else helps people get to a place where that's how they feel, certainly Republicans will be in a better position. But, we're in March. Usually the cake begins to really bake around June and is done baking around Labor Day, and so time is short.
David Drucker, senior writer for The Dispatch, author of In Trump's Shadow, The Battle for 2024 and the Future of the GOP. David, thank you as always.
Anytime. Thank you.
And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute, we've helped thousands find real relief without surgery. Our non-surgical, FDA-approved treatment uses hyaluronic gel that acts like a cushion between the bones in your knee. As we age, the cushion naturally wears down, causing painful grinding and popping. But our gel restores that cushion, allowing your knee to move smoothly again. Ready to stop the pain and get back to doing what you love? Call the Joint Relief Institute at 708-315-6800. Again, that's 708-315-6800.
Move better, live better with JRI.
Move better and live better with JRI. Contact the Joint Relief Institute today and get back to doing what you love. Call 708-315-6800 or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oakbrook, and Orland Park. Call 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
Welcome back to Ask Hassellus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
Whoa, who's this?
This is Hassellus Mattress.
I thought you didn't have any employees.
That's right. Our showrooms are employee-free. Give our mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy.
But you still answer the phone?
Of course. That's one of 3 easy ways to order your Sealy Posturepedic and Beautyrest mattress. Do it by phone, online, or at our in-store kiosk.
So, no employees.
Saves you money. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. And that's on top of our everyday low prices.
Okay.
Others sell a Sealy Posturepedic Queen Emeryville A mattress for $1,279. But Hassellus has it for just $838. Check out big discounts on Beautyrest and more too. Plus, free next day delivery.
Keep this up and you'll be named Non-Employee of the Month.
Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassellus.com.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, thanks for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. I'm off tomorrow and Friday. I know Jeannie and Amy are in for me tomorrow. So enjoy them. They'll pick up where I left off. It is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
We're just getting started. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what the War Secretary says on day 5 of Operation Epic Fury.
Iran's capabilities are evaporating by the hour, while American strength grows fiercer, smarter, and utterly dominant. More bombers and more fighters